Good morning, afternoon, wherever the heck you're from, everyone. Kyle's McGiles here, and today we are going to be starting off Arc 1 with Chapter 11. I have a lot of people to introduce you to, but before we get started, I'm going to say hi to a lot of y'all. Good morning, everyone. Let me switch to live chat. Hello, Pal. Hello, Flugelville. Hello, NY. Hello, Belly. Hello, Rena. E. Freddy, Strip Chicken, T. Cuzo, Richard, and Belly again. Hello, everyone. Good morning. As always, when we're reading the chapter, we will not answer many of our chats. We'll try our best with when we do our discussions between chapters, but we may just plow through chapter after chapter and do a discussion at the end. We'll see how we go today. But first, let's hear from the cast. Let me just turn on their audio and bring them in. Hello, everyone. We are live and we are ready to introduce ourselves. So, looks like because of my name change, we'll start with Gojo and I'll end off at the end with Wolf.
Hello, I'm Gojo. I'm a narrator.
Yay!
That's all I got.
Beautiful. Thank you, Gojo.
And I am Gold. I am today just your humble narrator. Just another humble narrator in the wide world of narrators. But here we are today, voicing more ReZero Arc 1. Is everyone excited?
Yay!
Yeah.
Woohoo! Yeah, okay, great. And then let's pass it over to the next person below me.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I'm a mod, and I'm probably gonna be doing Oppaman today.
Let's go.
I'm Palazard, or Connor. I do some of the voices here, and am the one primarily handling the localizing, translating, and just general proofreading of the AI translated works for Arc 1 here.
Woohoo!
Hey, I'm Pat. I'm happy to be here. I'll be voicing some things, I think. That's all.
Yay!
Yeah, that too. Happy to be here.
Hello, I am Tealdi. Today I will be Elsa and maybe, depending on how it goes, possibly narrating, but more than likely, just Elsa.
Hello everyone, I'm the Wolf Claw, the Wolf Boy. I will be voicing Subaru today.
I will also fix our audio in the process. I'm Kyles. I'll be your Amelia. Maybe some narration, mostly managing the stream if possible, and fixing our mic at the same time. I hope everyone's having a good day. Hello, Ayush. Hello, Steerman McMeerman. How is everyone today? Voice actors, friends, how are you today? We having a good time?
Yeah!
Yeah.
Having
Always a good
great
time.
Yay!
DC in here is the best time.
Yeah. So everyone, we are going to be starting with chapter 11. I'm going to drop this in the chat for all of you. And then we'll get started right after. Because I'm also in charge of the music today, it might get a little funky, so apologies on that end, but we will work on that in the future. Wolf and I are also down to one screen, so sorry for anything that pops up. Let's see.
As long as there's nothing nasty popping up, you should be fine.
Nah, it's more like accidentally ending stream. That's
Oh, that's kind of nasty, though.
that's kind of nasty though.
The
Yeah.
tick.
Just a little. Let's see.
It would be a certified Kyle's moment.
Oi. Rhoda.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that.
It's fine.
Too late.
Too late. Nothing new.
It was a struggle too late, one could say.
Cry.
Oh, very clever.
Oh shit! I see what you did. I see
Yeah.
what you did there.
Yeah.
All right.
Subaru sounds like he's dying already. It's alright.
He do. Super good right now.
He's in character.
Just preparing for the
He's in
inevitable.
character.
All right, everyone ready?
I'm
As
ready.
ready as I'll ever be.
Wahoo! All right, narrator Kun, whenever you're ready, get started.
I am ready. Chapter 11. A struggle too late. there were drops of blood running down the glass's sharp shards, and following them upward, one would find Rom's throat. He had lost his arm and his throat was ripped apart, which caused a large amount of foamy blood to pour out of his mouth, after which the light left his grey eyes as he collapsed to the ground. His twitching body had already lost its vitality, and there was no doubt that it no longer held life. Elsa elegantly bowed to his fallen body as if to pay her respects. She placed the glass she used to kill him down by his still twitching body.
I'm returning this. I no longer have a need for it, you see.
She said crudely as she twirled the kukri knife in her hand. Cleaning the blood off the blade, she once again pointed it toward the other two. Subaru, who was still on the ground, could not even say anything. He was entirely focused on the brutal slaughter that had just occurred before him. Someone he had conversing with just a few minutes ago was now dead. And it wasn't due to an accident or illness. It was due to another person's malice.
Ah, so you're the braver one.
Subaru, who was still frozen, raised his head when he heard her voice filled with admiration. His limbs would not obey him, as he lay there in that stupefied state. He saw Felt stand up before him, striking her trembling knees as if to encourage herself. She straightened her legs and combed her blood-soaked hair back.
How dare you!
Subaru couldn't see her expression since he was behind her. However, it was clear that her strained voice filled with hatred was not a tearful one.
If you resist unnecessarily, you may end up getting hurt.
You're going to kill me either way, you damn sadist!
I might not cut you properly if you move. I'm not very good with blades, you see.
She skillfully turned the knife in her hand and acted out a rehearsal of her cutting ability. Felt was facing her with no weapons whatsoever. Her chances of victory seemed non-existent. He should raise his voice, his brain decided. He should attract Elsa's attention and buy Felt time to escape. He at least had to give her time to call someone, or even just escape on her own. Analyzing the difference in their ability with his minimal experience, this was the conclusion he had drawn. Despite this, his throat produced no sound, as if it was frozen. His will to fight did not reach his limbs. They merely continued to tremble with fear.
Sorry for getting you caught up in this.
I'm...
She whispered a small apology to Subaru. But these words caused his face to jolt up toward her, and he completely forgot about his plan to shout, and instead all that left his mouth were words that seemed to be begging for forgiveness. And then, Felt left his sentiments behind forever as she dashed forward. There was a loud sound as her body flew forward, seeming light as a feather. The instant after she moved, it was as if a gale was blowing through the loot house. It looked to Subaru like she had completely disappeared when she started running. Having disappeared from his field of view, she then reappeared right next to Elsa, whose eyes were wide at this extreme speed as Felt's slender leg stunk into her side. Having landed her attack, Felt stepped back as if leaping, and once again drew in wind as she moved at top speed. In that limited space, she was even treating the walls as solid grounds. Her movements were simply amazing, and even Elsa couldn't help but be surprised.
The divine protection of wind. Ah, how wonderful. It seems you're loved by the world. I'm envious.
Elsa's ecstatic smile suddenly changed, her eyes filled with loathing as her arm whizzed through the air. That was all it took.
Ah!
For Felt to be cut right through from her shoulder while still in the air. She then helplessly fell and tumbled across the ground. The wound extended from her left shoulder to the right of her chest. Its depth was such that even her organs were cut right through her bones. Her body had fallen face upward and blood spurted out of her like a fountain in accordance with her pulse. It seemed like the pain and the shock of being sliced into had already caused her to lose consciousness. Her movements had completely stopped. The blood pouring out of her lost its vigor within a few seconds, silently signaling that her life was at an end. His body wouldn't move. He wanted to go to Felt's side and stop her bleeding. If one said it was already far too late for that, he at least wanted to close her eyes. But his body refused to do even this. It had basically become a doll that could only circulate blood and pain.
The old man and the girl have both fallen, and yet you still haven't moved. Maybe you've given up?
Her voice was somewhat pitying, and she seemed bored as she looked at Subaru, who was still stock still. It would all be over if she just got a little closer and swung that knife. It was probably because she realized this, that she was so casual. It even looked like she might have been stifling a yawn. Her attitude caused an unbearable rage to surge within Subaru. There were people he'd only just met. He had barely even been an hour. But even so, he had conversed with them and they had opened up to each other. She had killed him like it was nothing, and showed no remorse whatsoever. To Subaru, this was unforgivable. And most of all, he couldn't forgive himself for letting them die by this wretched woman's hand while he watched. This belated rage was what finally caused his limbs to move. He pressed his trembling limbs against the ground, and somehow managed to get up in a rather animalistic fashion. Was his body shaking due to rage or fear? Maybe it was both.
Ah, you finally stood up. You're late and rather dull, but not bad.
He faced Elsa, who had a Kirkree knife at the ready, and charged her with everything he had. He would throw himself at her and beat her down with strength surpassing his limits. But his charge
Pathetic.
was immediately stopped by Elsa's elbow, which slammed right into his nose, seemingly crushing it. She spun her body and struck her with her elbow with minimal movement, and as he recoiled, she followed it up by drawing an arc right into his body with her long legs, easily sending him flying. Subaru crashed into a shelf of kermix and fell to the ground as the fragments scattered. In an instantaneous exchange, his nose and front teeth had been ruined, and the side that took Elsa's kick was in extraordinary pain. He felt like he'd lost some ribs there. Despite this, he slammed his fist into the ground and stood up immediately. The endorphins flowing throughout his body dulled the horrible pain, which was at a level he'd never experienced before. His breath wild in this excited state, he once more launched a suicidal attack without thinking, and he was countered yet again. His wild swings did not reach her. She smoothly shattered his shoulder with the back of her blade. And then, as if his shrieks were an annoyance to her, she landed a kick directly into his jaw, forcefully shutting him up and causing his broken front teeth to fall out. She looked down at his collapsed body.
Simply pathetic. You're evidently a novice, and your movements are unrefined. You possess neither divine protection nor skill, and you weren't even able to think up any sort of strategy. Why even bother trying?
Shut up! I've got my stubbornness too. After you've gone and done all of this.
Subaru couldn't even properly yell at her because of his broken nose. He had lost his arm to that counter just now. Everything below his left shoulder had gone limp. He couldn't feel the pain, but the ringing in his ears was horrible. His nausea had returned, and it seemed to pour out of his mouth with his rage as he staggered around, barely standing up. He was riddled with wounds. His chances of victory were zero, and it was exceptionally unlikely that he'd even be able to land a hit. The sight of him standing up, even though the situation was utterly hopeless, caused Elsa to sigh.
I'll admit you've got outstanding spirit. If you'd drawn it out earlier, Perhaps things could have ended differently for these two.
Elsa used her knife to indicate the two she had cut down. His eyes followed the movement of the knife's tip to land on the corpses, and a sudden discomfort caused Subaru to frown. For some reason, this scene felt familiar to him. The loot house that had turned into a sea of blood, a giant who had lost an arm and had its throat torn apart, and within that dim room, the dull gleam of brownish blade. A thought suddenly shot through the back of his mind.
End this. I'll be sending you to the angels.
Elsa licked her red lips and disappeared into the darkness with a alluring smile. Subaru groaned as he lost sight of the threat. It seemed like she had simply vanished into the shadows.
Where?
Subaru restlessly looked around, his sensitivity to every little sound or sign greatly heightened. His pathetic behavior truly seemed like that of a weakling waiting to be hunted by a predator. From Elsa's perspective, this was probably terribly boring. It was like he was just laid out on a cutting board. Consequently, when she appeared from the shadows, her slash was exceedingly straightforward.
What?
Having judged that she'd target his stomach, Subaru barely managed to dodge. He stepped back a bit, drawing in his admin as he did, due to which the horizontal swing merely grazed him. The slight cut caused a sharp pain to run through him, which he bore by clenching his teeth. He then spun his whole body, landing a spinning kick right into Elsa's face. A satisfying blow delivered by twisting his waist. The tremendous impact of his foot confirmed that he managed to land a hit. The feeling rushed through his heart. And then...
I really felt that one.
The second Kurkuri knife Elsa had drawn had just torn about 70% of the way through Subaru's torso, causing blood and guts to spill out. One step, 2 steps. He staggered around until his shoulder hit the wall, causing him to collapse as if he'd slipped. Looking down, he could see copious amounts of blood pouring out of his abdomen, and unable to handle the pressure, his internal organs had also started falling out. He tried to place them back in with his shaky arm, but the clotting blood prevented him from doing so.
Are you surprised? I split your stomach when we passed each other. This happens to be my specialty.
Elsa said it as she smiled, forming small splashes in the sea of blood as she walked towards him. Once she reached Subaru's side, who was by this point incapable of even speaking as he shrieked, she lovingly looked upon his entrails within his darkest blood.
Your bowels truly do have such a lovely color, just as I thought.
This woman was abnormal. She was insane. Even the endorphins flowing through him couldn't hide the terrible pain that was causing his vision to dim. And before he knew it, seemed like he had ended up on his side. Like this, he slowly extended his arm, frailly grasping Elsa's foot.
Does it hurt? Are you suffering? Is it hard? Are you sad? Wanna die?
With his hand still on her ankle, Elsa crouched down by him, her line of sight intersecting with his. Her eyes looked like she was in a trance. It was as though she didn't feel anything at all when she took a life. No, she was definitely feeling something. The ultimate pleasure.
But it'd be a shame to make it too easy.
Still crouching next to him, she smiled sweetly as she swung her blade. And that was the last thing Subaru saw. Her slash was vivid, and it cut right across Subaru's face. The result? Both of his eyes had been torn apart. He had forever lost his sight. Still collapsed on the ground, Subaru used his hand to feel his deeply cut eyes. there was a mixture of blood and tears, and he once again vomited blood as he screamed. And he was assailed by the feeling that his insides were completely empty, as if all his blood and organs had spilled out. It was strange that he was even alive. It was like he had entered hell. And he couldn't even look at himself. He simply lay there on the verge of death, not knowing when death would finally come.
Slowly, 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 writhe around.
As he approached the end, he felt Elsa's voice gently strike his eardrums. It seemed tormenting, savoring, grieving, cherishing, and loving. His pain, suffering, rage, and despair were all overwhelmed by jet black fear. In that world he couldn't see, in that world where he didn't know when the candle of his life would burn out, what dominated his now empty heart was a single-minded fear. The extreme fear of death.
When will I die? When will I die? Am I still alive? Am I not dead? What defines life? Can it really be said that I'm alive in the state lesser than any insect? Can it really be said that I'm alive now, not being twined within the palm of life and death? What are life and death? Why am I afraid of dying? Do I need to be alive? No. I'm scared! 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 I'm scared!
His instincts rejected the inevitable death that was ceaselessly approaching. It ended up filling Subaru's mind. He was already at the end, and now his blank field of view was once dyed white.
I'm dead.
With this, Natsuki Subaru's life reached its disappointing conclusion.
And that was chapter 11. Dying.
Whoa.
Congrats.
Serious stuff.
That was really
Hailey,
good.
are you okay?
Jesus.
Yes.
Isn't that something you need to get off your chest? Some secret maliciousness to you?
9. I'm fine.
At 9. Damn, Taylor.
White Fox really left
That
us
was
off
really
easy.
good,
That
Taylor. Well
never
done.
happened.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Good job, everyone.
Yes.
Let's go.
Except for when I tried to say
Abdominal.
Jesus!
Abdomen, yes.
Abdomen. I was like, every time, I was like, I'll get it next time when it comes up. And it came up again and I was like, damn, this isn't going to end well.
The abominable.
It was so good.
Abdobooble.
Abdomen.
I feel like my stomach was slashed open.
Oh.
It's pretty visceral.
It is.
Didn't know
Yeah,
White
that
Fox
was
is
just
that much
that
censoring.
intimidating.
It's the broadcast stations, Gojo. They can't
Yeah.
show
Yeah,
certain things.
it's probably more the broadcasters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about it last time. They also censored Subaru drinking in that same scene.
He drank?
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol.
Oh,
Yep.
He got drunk with rum, like the first time they met.
that's
And
awesome.
immediately got sick.
I think he. How many times did the script make you throw up last time, Wolf?
About
4 times in the
4
same
times.
chapter?
It was like 2.5 because one of them he swallowed it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
love
forgot
you
about
remember
that. Thank you for
I
remembering.
didn't.
Alright, here we go.
You never
So nice you had
forget.
to taste it twice.
Tasty snack.
Just before we move on to the next chapter, I just wanted to address something that popped up. Arc 5 is still coming up. Kyle's was finishing a video for... why am I talking about myself in the third person? I'm finishing a video
Royal
for my
we.
own channel. I've had so many different issues come up with it because of technical difficulties and stuff. So once that's out today, I will be starting on editing chapter 62. It's all done. I have to get a couple more voice actors involved. I just have not looked at it yet. But 62 hopefully will be next week, which would be kind of nice because we'll have to change it on Saturday. Yes.
About 62. If you need me to re-record anything, let me know.
No, Gojo. Actually, Matter took a look at it, said it was perfect. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Hell yeah, you did
And
great.
I think the link to the last time I submitted mine was there, but I submitted them again anyway, just because.
Yes, thank you, Tealdi. Also, I will be the Teresia chapter. I will be talking to everyone soon. I also have to finish reaching out to everyone who has chapters. I still haven't done that, and the deadline is
I'll
very
do
soon.
that, please.
Oh yeah, I'll help you with that, Gold. That's my fault.
I already did with a lot of people.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about it now, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. We'll talk. Kyle's is working on managing.
The reason why you're speaking in the first person or the third person is because Kyle's not your real name, obviously.
Obviously. No, it hasn't been my nickname for my whole life. Cry. Alright, this chapter, we need Subaru, checkmark. We got Katamon, which I believe is Appa Man, Maddie.
Correct.
Amelia and Feltz.
Yeah.
Ayo, let's go. Who would like to narrate this time?
I can try to narrate, but somebody might have to sub in if I have to leave for reasons.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's totally fine. Who would like to be backup for Gojo?
I can jump in if I need to.
Ah, perfect. And we have a Sierra running in.
And I'll do next chapter, I think.
Yeah, okay, that works. Yay!
It's all coming together.
It's all coming
Zah.
together.
It's all coming together.
Let's go. I'm gonna find the right song.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, you've been excused.
Also, apologies. I think I burped through that chapter at one point. I
You did,
really
God.
tried to hold it in.
Like,
I mean, it was really
You got
crafty,
away
though.
from it, yeah. The burp didn't pick up, but the aftermath of it's like, oh, he did a thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
I was like, I can get through this till someone's next line. I couldn't
look,
get through it till
Yeah,
someone's
because
next
you because you just couldn't get that swallow that you need afterwards to clear it. It's just like, just go, keep going, you'll be fine.
To be honest, I thought you had like a leg cramp or something.
Hey, yo.
Thankfully not.
Tealdi's Elsa is just that intimidating.
It's good. It's scary.
He cramped up. He's scared.
Just like,
I
oh
mean-
no.
The fact that it kind of sounded like a school teacher was kind of creepy.
Taylor just has that type of voice.
Yeah.
Hey, yo.
It's the mom voice. I can never escape it now.
But that's an okay thing. It's good to be
Yeah.
server mom.
Somebody has to be. Very absent
Yeah,
server
well-
mom. I
well-
keep going to the store for milk and not coming back for like months.
You come back every single week now, so
Yes.
it's all better.
It's okay. Life is better with you around.
Yay. Although I won't be here next week.
That's okay. We're doing it on Sunday next week, if that's okay. with
Mommy,
everyone.
you're going to
Oh,
get the milk
I'm
again?
not coming. I'll probably miss it because I'm coming back in the afternoon.
Ah, that's okay.
Just because
There's
I
always
didn't
next
feel like catching a 6 a.m. flight
Ooh.
to come back from
Ooh.
California.
Yeah, no thank you.
That's
Yeah, so it's like,
understandable.
no, we'll put it to the afternoon. We can get breakfast, check out the hotel on time, take our time.
Oh, yeah, because you're going to the convention with
VidCon.
Minion, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, Minion number 1. Yeah, the two of us.
Mm,
We leave on Tuesday.
that's so exciting.
That'll be so fun
Nice.
for them.
Neither of us has been to a convention before, so I am a little lost, but I'll try my
Wow.
best.
You're going to do
Ah,
great.
you do grand.
It's going to be so fun.
I do already have the standing order, and that's like every morning we are going to shower because we will
Yes.
not be those people that add to the funk of conventions that I've read about.
It is quite
Convention fun.
legendary.
It is.
I have
Great,
heard the
Takahashi
tales.
taught us well.
And have pocket hand
I
sanitizer.
I was at Phoenix Fan Fusion, and there was some people was walking near me that, I could tell. I
Oh,
could
just
tell.
that little casual slap to the nostrils as you go by.
Yes.
Apparently, Smash tournaments are even worse.
I was also
Oh,
the
no.
only
They
ReZero
gotta
cosplayer
be.
there, so that's fun.
Oh.
Mm.
Yeah, when we went to Comic-Con in Ottawa, we were like the only ReZero ones there. I don't think we even saw Felix.
Oh.
Everyone loved
Well,
your Subaru.
Apparently,
outfit.
there was a Felix there. I just never saw them, but
Oh,
at
right.
last year's Phoenix Fan Fusion, there was like 3 Rems and a Subaru and maybe a Felix.
Rem. I'm just saying. If we actually get bigger, if we get asked to go to a con, that's gonna be a lit time. We better all dress up.
Dressed up in all white.
Oh, white. Because you're the narrator.
Yeah, just ethereal being.
Faceless.
Like a spot.
Full body too.
God, is that
Wear a
you?
dream mask.
Just a bunch of dream masks in the back. Hey,
Oh
you
my
ready?
god.
All right, we ready,
Hi.
folks?
Yeah, we're digressing. Let's
We are.
next chapter.
Sorry.
Digressing is fun.
It's not digressing. It's fun. We're having fun.
This is the
Yeah,
whole
we're
point.
having fun.
All right, music is ready. So, narrator, take it away when you're ready, and Appa Man.
Arc 1, Chapter 12, Reunion of the Witch. When Subaru's consciousness returned, there was a red, ripe fruit behind. Oh, what?
I had a line first.
Excuse me?
Yeah. So sorry. There's a
I
line.
had a line first.
That's okay.
Oh, shoot, sorry.
All right, let's start
Let's
again.
take it back to the top.
All right,
Yeah.
we start over.
Oh,
We
sorry.
start over.
We'll
We're
start
good,
with Gojo saying chapter 12, and then we'll go to Maddie and go back to Gojo.
Arc 1, Chapter 12, Reunion of the Witch.
Quit spacing out, man. You want an app or not?
When Subaru's consciousness returned, there was a red, ripe fruit before him. As he gazed at this very apple-like fruit, worthless thoughts such as, "They call it the fruit of wisdom, huh?" passed through his mind. A forbidden fruit that resulted in the expulsion from paradise if you ate it. Maybe, if he bit into it, he'd be able to escape this incomprehensible situation.
Hey, you listening?
The middle-aged man knit his brow and once again called to Subaru, who had no reaction. Some distant corner of Subaru's consciousness perceived this, which caused his face to jolt upward. He started looking around at his surroundings. He was standing in front of a stall on a street bathed in the early afternoon sunlight. Within this shop, there was a wide variety of fruits and vegetables. This certainly wasn't an unfamiliar sight to him, but there was a small difference. Filling up the crowded street, there were hair colors that were impossible in his old world, as well as races that were quite literally impossible walking around as if it were natural. Watching all this hustle and bustle, Subaru scratched his head. His left arm could move now. When it touched his abdomen, he felt nothing unusual, and there was no sign whatsoever that his organs had poured out, or that his eyes had been slashed.
I have no idea what's going on here.
As he murmured this, his rising nausea and dizziness overwhelmed him, causing his knees to give out.
Water. Can you drink it?
Accepting the cup offered to him, Subaru gingerly sipped at the water poured within it. The water was ice cold and spread as if soaking into his parched mouth from the tip of his tongue. It even relieved his dreary mood to some extent.
Ah, just what I needed. Thank you. You really are a good guy, old man.
God.
Quit it. Quit it. It'd be no laughing matter if you were suddenly collapsed in front of my store. It looked like my products caused it. Rest in the shade until you've settled down.
The man replied without a hint of bashfulness, and then went back into his stall. Subaru was still sitting on the ground near the road as he watched the man leave. He then leaned against the shop's wall as he sighed deeply. The one who had helped him when he was overcome by dizziness and was about to collapse was the shopkeeper he was now well familiar with. Despite his rough appearance, he immediately prepared a wet towel and some drinking water once he guessed that Subaru was suffering from heat stroke, and then brought him to the shade so he could rest. You really couldn't judge people by their looks. They were muscly, bald old men who were good-natured grandpas, and sexy women who took pleasure in murder.
I thought my stomach and eyes were destroyed.
He whispered as he felt his eyelids, and once again confirmed that he could see properly. Naturally, there was no wound on his abdomen, and his left shoulder was in good health as well. It seemed his wounds had once again disappeared completely, and perhaps due to some obsession, he was placed before the man's stall yet again.
But even so, that was really bad.
He moved his hands from his eyelids and looked at them. Even though his fingers weren't touching anything, they trembled slightly. This traveled up his arms until it became a terrible chill throughout his entire body. Merely thinking back to it caused his teeth to chatter as he curled up with his head between his knees. The pressing horror so intense it even drowned out the hustle and bustle around him as his body trembled. It was repulsive, alien, overwhelming, absurd, and the very personification of despair. He had never been exposed to such malice. He had never experienced such pain and violence. And he had never had his body destroyed to such an extent. He and his acquaintances had lost their lives. The terror was so heartrending that all he could do was curl up. He refused to even think of facing such an aberrant entity.
Stop thinking about it. Stop thinking about it. This is absurd. It's hopeless. There's nothing I can do. That was death. That couldn't have been anything but death. That I'm even alive is unbelievable luck, isn't it?
Seeking agreement from no one in particular, Subaru desperately begged for forgiveness. The scenes of Rom's grisly slaughter and Felt's final moments as she was cut down repeated in the back of his mind. And after that came the horrifying memory of being sliced up, broken, open up, and having his sight stolen. He felt nausea and dark emotions surge up as he immediately splashed his remaining water on his head. There wasn't a lot, but it was enough to cover his head in the cool sensation. He wiped away the water dripping from his bangs and repeatedly slapped his face to restore his emotional state.
Alright, let's cheer up. It's simple. Just forget all about that place. There's a mountain of other things I have to do and consider. For instance, I still need to decide how I'm going to live in this world. I ended up getting caught into some trouble last time I was considering that, and then I was saved and wanted to return that favor, and then felt like I was going to die. Oh, come on. I said not to think about that.
Even if he tried not to think about that, the silver-haired girl continued to shine within his memories. To begin with, most of what happened to him in this world was in some way related to her, so it was impossible for him to both forget about her and focus on the world. However, if he thought back to his time with her, he would ultimately end up at that painful and despair-inducing memory. His thoughts were once again in a downward spiral. His shaking wouldn't stop, and his negative thoughts kept going in circles as he completely lost any sight of hope. What should he do now? What should he do, and how should he do it to succeed? Would it be fine if he just stood around and did nothing? Right now, he couldn't even grasp the slightest hint. Cat.
Hey, how do you feel now? Any better?
With his face peeking out of his stall, the shopkeeper asked this considerate question. Despite his attempts to act tough, the concern he displayed showed that he was a good man at heart. It wouldn't do to rely on just his kindness like this. It was what Subaru thought as he decided to leave the area for now.
I think I've calmed down somewhat. Sorry to trouble you.
He tried not to look weak as he stood up, and then returned the empty cup. The shopkeeper seemed to want to say something as he took it, but he didn't press the matter further.
I'll definitely pay you back someday.
That's unnecessary, but if you ever make some money, come buy some appas.
Subaru's face was meek as the shopkeeper lightly tapped his shoulder, after which he raised his hand and returned to his store. Feeling good about the man's laid-back attitude, Subaru took a deep breath and stepped towards the road. The crowd continued to move just the same as when he was curling up, and the main street lined with the stalls seemed bright as ever.
The loot house.
He should probably go there, he thought vaguely. He thought about it, but his legs did not move in its direction. Going there meant facing that terror. If things went wrong and he encountered Elsa again, his life that he had somehow kept would essentially be wasted. Having been summoned to another world, he would simply rot away without accomplishing anything.
It'd just be the same if I run.
He ridiculed himself as he smiled, and then put his hands in his pockets and started walking in the opposite direction from the loot house. That was what he had decided. He would throw it all away, give up completely, and turn a blind eye to the favor he had received. After all, that was what he did before he came here. He never did anything he didn't have to do. No need to rock the boat. Stuff like give and take or whatever, human interaction was in general a pain for him. That was the sort of life he lived. At this point, he couldn't possibly.
Huh?
When he raised his head and took his first step, an expression of bewilderment left his mouth. Within his widened field of view, the crowd moving back and forth seemed to be avoiding him as he stood in the middle of the street. There was a tall figure with reptilian skin, a beast man whose height only reached Subaru's waist, a young pink-haired dancer, a knight with 6 swords, and a girl in a white robe, her silver hair fluttering as she walked. The girl danced at him, and then, as if to avoid touching him, shifted to the side and passed by. Her bundled up hair swayed, and a flower-like scent permeated the air and tickled his nostrils. Her strong-willed amethyst eyes had already disregarded him. They had a sharpness that only looked forward, toward the paths that she was supposed to walk. Her dignified atmosphere hadn't changed, and that shimmering beauty hadn't the slightest blemish. The girl he had been looking for was walking right before him.
Wait.
He couldn't immediately call her out. The sound stopped in his throat as he ran after her. The girl smoothly weaved her way through the crowd. His mental state was lost, confused, and disordered as he chased after the silver hair. And he called out in almost a tearful voice.
Hey, wait. Wait up. Please wait.
She looked at him for a moment, her eyes cold as though she was looking at a stranger. They'd only interacted for a few hours, so to her he was just a passing acquaintance. Maybe he was even someone she despised, considering he couldn't even heed the simplest warning and put her in danger. Even if she thought of him that way, Subaru continued to pursue her. He didn't know how she felt about him, so he wanted her to tell him that much at least. If he was going to be hurt by whatever he imagined she thought of him, he'd much rather end up hurt by her real opinion.
Please wait. Satella!
Once he stopped her, what exactly did he want to say? The instant the answer appeared within him, he shouted her name as if he just remembered it. His shout tore through the noisy road and even reached the girl who was getting further and further away. The silver-haired girl stopped immediately. He pushed the crowd aside to reach her and placed his hand on her slender shoulder.
Please don't ignore me. It was my bad for disappearing. Really. But I don't get what's going on either. I even went back to the loot house to look for you, but I couldn't find you.
Satella seemed surprised by his hand being laid on her shoulder. When she turned around, all that left his mouth were excuses. He spoke rapidly, justifying himself as if afraid he'd heard otherwise. Perhaps her gaze that seemed to see right through him was the cause. However, even with this gaze on him, Subaru felt some relief in addition to his anxiety. At a glance, there didn't appear to be any serious wounds on her. Maybe she had also been healed by someone after the loot house incident. It was also possible that she healed herself, but what was important was...
Sorry, I've just been blabbing about myself. But I'm glad you're okay.
The fact that they were able to meet again made him happier than anything. Come to think of it, what worried him next was her partner, Puck's safety. Subaru had far too many things he had apologized to him for, He couldn't uphold a promise made man to man. That was a sin he ought to be condemned for.
You...
Once Subaru stopped talking, Satella started speaking as if to fill the gap. It had only been a few hours, and yet it felt like he hadn't heard that silver bell-like voice in forever. He could see her standing before him. He could even reach out and touch her. He had finally caught her. Such out-of-place emotions welled up within Subaru. However,
What are you thinking?
as if Subaru felt this sense of relief, Satella directed an angry look at him. Her white cheeks flushed slightly, and she twisted her body a bit to shake his hand off. She took a step backwards to put some space between them, and her eyes were filled with such hostility as she looked to him. Her unexpectedly harsh reaction caused Subaru to gulp and fall silent. But thinking about it, it was obvious that this would happen. To her, it must have been a wonder that he even dared to show his face. He would accept any abuse she wished to rain upon him. This resolve of his,
I don't know who you are, but you address someone by the Witch of Envy? Just what are you thinking?
was smashed to pieces by this completely unexpected reaction. Faced with these unexpected words, Subaru felt as if time itself had stopped. The sound from the crowd had vanished, and all that he heard were his heart's pounding and the silver-haired girl's angry voice. It was as if all other sounds were gone. No, they were gone.
What?
He muttered as he awkwardly turned his head to look around and realized every single person around them, on the street filled with stalls and pedestrians, was now focused on the two of them. They were all shaken and had fallen silent, as though even the slightest movement was forbidden. It was as if the conversation between the two of them had completely dominated the street.
I'm asking you what you're thinking. Speak up.
However, Satella wouldn't allow any hesitation despite his bewilderment. Her tone was harsh, but Subaru had no response since he didn't even know why she was angry. They seemed to be on completely different wavelengths as to what the problem was.
I'll ask you this once more. Why did you refer to me by the name of the Witch of Envy?
No! I mean, I was told...
I don't know who told you that, but that's in very poor taste. You're at fault too for going along with it. The Witch of Envy? The symbol of all things taboo? Merely mentioning her name is frowned upon. To think you'd actually call someone by that name.
Her anger clearly on display, Satella, the silver-haired girl, plunged him into a sea of confusion. The crowd gathered around them and all nodded at her words, which is to say they were proof that her words were correct. And this confused him even further. He didn't understand what she was saying. He had just said her name. And yet, she took offense to this, and the people around him acknowledged that as she was correct to do so. He didn't know what he was doing wrong. He was just being reprimanded for being wrong. He couldn't reflect on his actions or change his behavior.
If that's all, I'll be on my way. I don't have time for this.
She said as Subaru hung his head. She then walked off gallantly, her silver hair fluttering. Subaru wanted to call out to her, but the name froze in his throat. He'd be making the same mistake twice if he called her that again. But then, what should he call her? The hesitation dulled Subaru's judgment. Consequently, he simply watched what took place before him without doing anything. There was a small gas at the top of the canopy of a nearby stall, about a head taller than Subaru. It leapt. Its small body was gently pulled downward by gravity, and the instant it landed, it rode the wind to accelerate. The swift wind was wearing somewhat dirty clothes and had golden hair flowing behind it. She easily slipped through the crowd as if divinely inspired, and her quickly extended arm entered a right robe with a hawk embroidered on it. It was only a moment of contact, but that was enough for the wind. The wind made the rope flutter, and then took off as the girl had turned.
Don't tell me.
The silver-haired girl raised her voice in surprise and stuck her hand into the robe. She didn't find what she was looking for, and her eyes widened as she took towards the wind that was fading into the distance. That wind held an insignia symbolizing a dragon in its hand. Watching it from behind, Subaru instinctively yelled.
Felt?
This caused the wind to waver as if perplexed, but its speed did not decline, and it disappeared from the street into an alleyway in an instant. That was some incredibly fast work. A chance meeting of an instant. He only seen it momentarily, but that was most likely.
It's gone? Was this why you stopped me? You're in on it?
The girl groaned at Subaru, who had just stood still, unable to react to the hectic situation. She immediately pointed her palm his way, but as if rethinking this decision, she ran off towards the alley the wind had disappeared into.
Hey! Wait! It's a misunderstanding! I'm not...
Subaru ran into the alley as well, chasing after them so he could resolve this misunderstanding. As he ran, his mind filled with doubts towards many mysteries. There was far too much information being unloaded onto him, and his flustered brain could not process it all. Even if this weren't the case, he felt like he had died twice today, and that really messed with him.
Someone, please be nice to me! Why the hell was I even summoned here?
The absurdity of the situation made him yell as he stumbled through the dim alleyway. He wasn't sure his stamina would last, but he didn't think he'd lose those two over a short distance. He'd catch up to them right away and clear up all those doubts. That was what he was expecting as he ran, but...
Damn! A wall?
Subaru spat as a dead end blocked his path. The two you were chasing weren't there. If you recalled correctly, Felt was agile enough to easily scale walls, and Sotelo probably wouldn't have any trouble getting over a wall or two with her magic.
I don't mind climbing, but I don't think I could ever catch up that way.
More importantly, if the gap between them widened, Subaru couldn't just keep running. Even though he had trained his physical strength inside his room, it would be impossible to do the same with aerobic exercise. His lack of stamina was his fatal flaw, and even here it caused him to give up the chase.
If this is no good, how about the loot house? Sotelo and Felt are both alive, so Ron must be too.
He decided that it would be ideal to go on ahead of them and link up with Rom as soon as possible. For now, he should get out of this dead end and head towards the slums. Thus, he turned around.
You're kidding.
Before him were some figures blocking his way out of the alley. The three of them, they were somewhat filthy, and they had a rough aura about them as if their violent nature had manifested on their faces. By this point, it was a pain to even bother describing the three standing in his way. These bandits who made the back alleys their hunting grounds had encountered him for the third time that day.
Woo! And that was chapter 12. Pachi Pachi,
Dun
everybody.
dun dun.
Nice.
Sorry for the stuttering.
No, you did
Ah,
great.
no. You did great, man.
Thank you.
Pachi Pachi! Yay!
Yay!
How'd everyone feel after that chapter? It's stressful considering we know how it ends. To an extent.
I can't
What do you
believe Subaru called this random elf that he's never met before Sotelo, the Witch of Envy. It's very
Bro, it's
patient.
2012, you gotta be better.
This poor guy. He's just trying his best, for real, for real.
The line where he says, "Why isn't anyone being nice to me?" was mad sad.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean that's very funny. I mean, it's not funny, but it's
Why
also
is
sad,
everyone
yeah.
being so mean to me?
Why you guys so mean, huh?
Because that's one of the most like human reactions. It was also like very childish as well. It's like
Like, bro, I just
everyone
got
is
here.
bullying me. What?
Why is everyone being a big mean poopy head?
I'm just trying
Exactly.
my best, man.
I have noodles, man.
I think we've all felt that way from time to time, even as adults. Like, why is
Yeah.
everyone being mean to me?
He
Yeah.
just needs to live through one more reset, and then he'll finally get someone.
Appa Man is Satella is my theory. This is cheeky.
True.
To be fair, it's probably Karma that's trying to act like a shonen protagonist.
Aishuru.
I did it.
God. My
Do you
ears.
remember that stream you tried to do where you tried to say it for a bunch of
did it.
times, then you just stopped?
Yeah.
I think you gave up after like 5 minutes.
No, not yet. A minute 30.
Oh god.
I might redo it one day
Oh
and
my
just
God.
loop like a minute over and over again. Call it a
Yeah,
day.
you
Nobody
could've
will know the
lied.
better.
You could have lied.
No one would be none the wiser.
Exactly. Just change a little intonation
Eh,
here and there.
Probably should have said that now.
That's okay. It's just a VOD. Who's gonna watch the whole video?
Yeah, who's gonna be here and also there and also oh wait.
It's
a
actually
few people.
surprising how few people like cross paths. Like, you know, I have quite a few Reverie viewers on my channel, but there's a lot of people on my channel that do not come to Reverie and vice versa. There's some Reverie people who are like, ew, a VTuber? Ugh, get out of here.
Mhm.
You, not ReZero.
I know.
Ew.
I know. VTubers are the worst.
Maddie out here, modding both channels. Like. But yeah. You guys, do you need a break for a few moments? Wolfie Boy just had to run to the washroom, but after that, we'll get started as Gold as narrator. Of course, we got our Subaru, we got our Katamon. Ton, Chin, and Khan. I forget who Tealdi.
I am ready to be dwarf again.
Yeah. And Palizard,
Good.
you ready for?
Yes,
Do you want to be
I
both
can do
of them?
ton.
Or
I can.
guess
Sure.
Pat, I
Unless
guess you
Pat
could be one
wanted
as
to do
well.
one.
That's true.
Like, I'm easy. I'm easy. Yeah, I'm easy.
Sweet.
Do you want to be male, thin, unhinged, and creepy?
Why are you describing me?
I'm sorry, I'm typecasting you. My bad.
You're not creepy and unhinged.
Oh, well, maybe not creepy, but unhinged. Oh, I don't know. I think sometimes I am.
It's a little unhinged.
Yeah, you need a bit of unhinginess in your life to live.
Spice it up.
Hey yo.
So
Gotta spice up
before
the
we
night.
jump into this one, for the audience listening too, the name Super is gonna assign them finally in this chapter, is basically calling them NPCs. He's using a word that means irrelevant or idiots.
Jeez, his racism stems deeply.
We're starting off
Needs to check
strong
him.
with Subaru-kun.
Mhm.
I forgot how.
First he's racist, then he's classist.
Oh, we love to see it.
How was Chin's voice was sort of like raspy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's
sort of like
this.
Sort of like this.
He had he had the long tongue, so he has like the kind of
What you
snake.
say
Like,
is that
whenever people
I
try to
should
talk
have
like
my
snake-
tongue outside my mouth at all times.
And the BDSM collar on too.
Hey yo, yeah you do.
It's always talk like you have a steep desire to lick sharp objects.
It's a fashion.
I like knives.
That's perfect.
Want to see how far I can stretch my tongue out?
Oh my god. Goddamn.
No?
Sure
What
you
that
do,
tongue
What'd
buddy.
that tongue do?
What that tongue do?
What the
It go
tongue
places
doing?
you don't know.
Have I got the lady for you to meet?
Yes, show me.
Although I
And-
wouldn't insult her because she'll probably chop your tongue off.
You're every-
Not my tongue. My one distinguishable feature.
I don't think
He's made it his
I
whole
don't think you have to
personality.
insult her for her to do that.
Yeah. It's just a matter of when at that point.
What you guys don't realize now is I'm going to lick my microphone halfway through this reading.
Oh, Pat.
Just to
say
get in
less.
character.
Or he'll do
Say
it by
less.
accident, but totally play it off like he meant it.
Oh no, I tripped.
It just needs a bath.
Oh no, I actually threw it in my mic. Oops.
Oops. That happened.
Whoopsies.
enjoy unexpected ASMR.
Huh.
And it's horrifying.
Oh,
ASMR, I lick your ears while I tap the mic.
no.
Everybody
No,
ready?
Please
thank
not.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm in character now.
Yay! Take it away, narrator Kun.
Yeah.
Everyone's ready. Oh, did you have something else, Palazard?
1 second. One.
Just a heads up to Tealdi and Pat, near the end of this chapter, there's a line where all three of us will speak in a row. Just cut yourselves off in the middle of the sentence as you do it.
Dead on.
Beauty.
All right, are we ready now?
We're ready.
Yes.
Yep.
Arc 1, Chapter 13, End and Beginning.
Just give up already! There's a limit to incorrigibility!
Subaru was tired of seeing these guys and kicked the ground in frustration. This was their third encounter, and it was once again a 3-on-1 in an alleyway. Despite how fruitless their first and second attempts were, they were still continuing to hound him. He was truly surprised by this tenacity. If the situation wasn't what it was, he might have even applauded them.
I don't have time for you guys. I'll face you when things settle down, so get out of my way.
He was a little uneasy, but he had managed to beat them solo last time, so he kept his composure. If he intimidated them a bit, there would probably still be an opening. That's what he expected, but...
Get out of his way, huh? What do you say we do?
I don't like his attitude. Not one bit. It doesn't look like he understands who's going to be giving the orders here.
You pathetically lost 3-on-1. Why the hell are you acting so tough? Even the sorest loser would show more shame.
To be honest, Subaru couldn't help but feel like a sore loser himself right now. In other words, this place had turned into a gathering of beaten down losers.
That's way too negative. I thought I was a more optimistic character.
It's no good. He's completely messed up in the head. We decided to target him because of his weird getup, but maybe this is...
The men started talking to one another, clearly annoyed by his loud monologue. The empty-handed one and the one with the nada seemed to be losing interest in Subaru, but the biggest threat, the one with the knife, still had a sharp gaze. Those eyes seemed to have given up on his value as a wallet, but there was another dark desire cruelly wavering within them. The man's look caused Subaru to internally mutter.
This could be dangerous.
Having faced them twice, Subaru concluded that the man with the knife was the most troublesome among them. In addition to his lethality, he was the one with the quickest temper. Forget fighting. It would be wise to avoid even getting close.
Got it. I won't resist. Just state your demands.
Subaru said this as he raised his hands, emphasizing that he had no intention of fighting them. He had completely dropped the confident attitude he had, and instead changed to one of compliance. The reason being that he decided to prioritize getting out of here and wanted to keep the man with the knife calm. He decided that some losses couldn't be helped, and it would be best to just get out of here for now. Well, there was also the unfortunate possibility that they were aiming for revenge and would beat him to a pulp. If things looked to be moving in that direction, he'd run away with all he had before they had the chance to stab him. If he had managed to make it to the main street, they probably wouldn't be able to do anything conspicuous. As Subaru vigilantly formed plans to ensure his safety within his mind, the men's attitude toward him relaxed. They spoke as if to ridicule his cowardliness for being willing to take their demands.
Come on, if you were ever that scared, you should have just done that from the start.
Bastard. You sure talk big for a scaredy cat.
Isn't this great? You heard him say he wouldn't try anything, right? What a coward.
Their words annoyed him, but Subaru forced a smile and laughed them off. He found some satisfaction in naming them Ton, Chin, and Kan in his mind.
Well, just what demands do you intend to make of this idiot?
For now, set down everything you've got. Even those weird clothes and shoes. You can keep your underwear. We're not devils after all.
They mercilessly mocked Subaru, who had humbled himself before them.
So, they have the concept of devils here too, huh?
Along with such other irrelevant thoughts, their words instilled a strong sense of unease in him. Everything he had, even his clothes and shoes, this demand was surely...
You guys! You really have gone and hit your head somewhere, haven't you?
This was the exact same as what they had asked him the first time he encountered them. Perhaps they had hit their heads, or maybe the poor bastards lacked the brain power to even remember what they had said before. It could even be that they overused the same template so much that they didn't even remember who they said it to. None of those possibilities were beneath them. But considering their attitude towards Subaru had knocked them out before, the last possibility seemed unlikely.
That was felt too. Looks like there's a lot of memory problems around here.
Quit flapping your gums. Don't want to follow your orders? Or do you not have the brains to follow them?
You're the last guys who ought to be talking about brains.
This last mutter stopped in his mouth, and Subaru showed that he was willing to do as they said. As he wondered if he should try at least keep his clothes, or maybe deal with them all in one go now that they'd gotten closer, he stuck his hand in his bag.
Huh?
He frowned. This is the most unsettling experience yet in this world.
Why?
He muttered, as if groaning, as he slowly confirmed the contents inside of his plastic bag. In it was his Shokyu Tonkatsu cup ramen, his wallet and phone that were too troublesome to keep in his pocket, and finally, a golden snack of a flavor he was extremely fond of. Right, that gold-colored snack, the corn potage flavored snack. It was the first thing he had eaten since he came to this world, and it also proved very useful to calm Rom's rage at the loot house, after which most of it was supposed to be used up, but right now it was completely full and back in his bag.
I thought we'd eaten this. There was definitely only a little bit left.
They had consumed at least 2/3 of its contents, and yet it had returned to its original state. There was no sign the bag had even been opened. It was strange no matter how he thought about it. The disappearance of his wounds could be explained. He had seen Sistella's magic. Therefore, he can conclude that someone had healed them in the aftermath of both tragedies. But even if you suppose that such a high-class healer existed, would it really be possible to restore something that no longer existed?
Right. Duplication magic.
He remembered Rom mentioning something of the sort. Duplication magic. Magic that made it possible to not only copy something's appearance, but fully replicate it. If someone used that magic, even then...
But then, what about the bag's opening? Don't tell me healing magic can even restore glue or something.
He didn't think that was very realistic, and considering this world seemed to have sacrificed technological development for magical development, it seemed doubtful that they would have the knowledge to re-glue the bag. His thoughts were completely blocked on all sides. But within those trapped thoughts, Super started to believe that this was not healing magic. That was where it stopped. Because the other possibility he had thought of was too absurd. His sense of reason rejected it, believing it to be impossible.
Hey, what the hell are you doing?
A sudden call from right next to him, caused him to let out a dumbfounded noise. One of the men, the barehanded third one, whom he called Khan in his mind. Subaru frowned when he realized the man had walked right up to him.
Why are you approaching me like that? Let me tell you, I don't need your help to get my clothes off.
As if anyone's going to help you do that. You're the one who staggered over here.
Only after he was yelled at did Subaru realize that he had gone from the inside of the alley all the way to the side of the road. It seemed he had been moving unconsciously while engrossed in thought, but to the men, his thoughtless actions ended up looking like hostile conduct.
If he won't do as we say, let's say we knock him around a little.
Or rather, this is a real pain in the ass already. Let's just end it here.
Subaru saw that the men were about to do something hasty, so he halted his deep thought for the moment. What he needed right now was...
Here! Catch this!
What?
He raised the plastic bag in his hand and then tossed it deep into the alley. It drew an arc as it flew at the darkness and high speed. Naturally, the men who were planning to loot it also followed it with their eyes. Seeing an opening, Subaru energetically dashed past them. Just as he concluded several times now, the most important thing was getting away from them safely. After that, he would have to go to the loot house and find the answers to the doubts that had welled up within him. He himself felt that what he was thinking was foolish. Some user of healing magic, who was incredibly proficient in both restoration magic and duplication magic, happened to come across the tragic scene at the loot house and came out of the kindness of their heart. They healed everyone, they're completely free of charge, and then left Subaru all alone at one stall, after which they simply left without even introducing themselves. Even this completely whimsical story was easier to accept.
Well, that's pretty hard to accept too, though.
It was what made the most sense, at least compared to the baseless foolishness that had crossed the back of his mind. With two contrary ideas conflicting within him, Subaru dashed out of the filthy alley. If he made it out to the main street and ran around while making a lot of noise, even these guys most likely wouldn't pursue him. It was unfortunate to lose the contents of the bag, but he had snuck some things out right beforehand, so only the things left in the bag were some snacks and some small change that was just dead weight. His losses weren't significant. It was with this in his mind that he ran, but suddenly his next step missed his mark by a wide margin, causing him to panic. His body was unsteady, and the leg he was supposed to have put onto was stumbling. The strength then left his legs, and he fell to his knees. He put out his hands to stop his fall and scolded himself for being such an idiot as to fall at a time like this. However,
That's weird.
he tried to gather his strength to stand back up, but his arms were trembling. He was completely unable to raise his body. He had also dropped the things he was holding right before this.
That's why we told you to just listen, fool.
He heard a scornful voice from right behind him and somehow turned his head toward it. The man standing behind him was the second one, who he nicknamed Chin, an extremely humiliating name. With that vulgar attitude, the man pointed at Subaru as the edges of his mouth curved up. Following his pointing figure, Subaru realized why he had collapsed. There was a knife embedded in his lower back. The moment he realized this, a terribly sharp pain ran through him and blocked his throat. This extremely pure and primal pain even robbed him of the ability to writhe in agony.
I've been stabbed! 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 Stabbed!
Unlike the other two, the knife-wielding Chin hadn't been distracted by the bag, meaning at that moment, he must have been more focused on hurting Subaru than stealing anything of value. As expected, Chin was the most important one to deal with, more than Tan or Khan. This was the result of neglecting to do so. In these few hours, he had already encountered many different types of horrible pain, but no matter how many times he experienced this, it would be absolutely impossible to get used to it.
Hey, you seriously stabbed him?
I had no choice. What if he escaped into the street? It'd be a real pain for us.
You hit his gut, so he'll probably die. Ugh, it's even drenching his clothes.
Is that all you think? Oh, yeah. Wait a second. Yeah. Is that all you think about when you stab someone? A complaint through the horrendous pain. He couldn't afford to think of anything else. He was in so much pain that it was hard to even stay conscious. And judging by what Tan said, his wound was such that he wouldn't be able to get back up. He at least had to do something while he was conscious. Deciding this, he scraped together all the strength he had left, steadily gathering it as he prepared to shout. Bringing it to his tongue, he tried to scream.
All right. Here's a second one before you go and try anything.
A second knife was mercilessly thrust right into the middle of his back. The numbness that spread through him like an electric shock canceled out his shout. He was already far beyond the point where he could bear the pain or attempt to do anything like scream. There was no longer anything he could do. The damage to his back seemed to have already reached his lungs. Even as he repeated this hoarse, rugged breath, his lungs would not expand and breathing became more and more painful. Oxygen deprivation was affecting him severely. He was becoming so weak it seemed he would soon lose the ability to even think. He lost sensation in his limbs and no longer knew whether he was facing down or upward. Even though his eyes weren't slashed this time, he still couldn't see anything as the vision had gone black.
What do you mean this time?
It was pitiful to cling to an idea he already dismissed as absurd. If he was going to cling to it, he might as well do it to the fullest.
Don't think about your impending death. Before you die, analyze the world around you.
His eyes were dead. So were his limbs. All he had left were his nose and ears, so he would have to make full use of them. Any sort of lingering scent would be fine. He didn't mind hearing all sorts of abuse. The stink of the dirt in the alley, the rising metallic scent of blood. His nose just died. It was gone. His ears were at death's door as well, and they were barely even functioning.
Take valuables.
Hurry, the guards! Oh, come on!
This is bad. If we get...
He could only pick up these fragments of conversation. Picking them up was fine, but it was too much. His brain had died for him to understand what he had heard. Since part of his brain was dead, he could only hear. He didn't know if he would remember what he heard. What exactly did he mean? What exactly did he remember? What did he want to do by remembering? What was what? What was... As if following the parts that died first, his other functions steadily disappeared. And at the very end, with the scraping sound of something being pulled from him, Natsuki Subaru lost his life for the third time. When his consciousness returned, Subaru was in darkness. Realizing it was the darkness of his own creation, he gently opened his eyes, and then, burned by the dazzling sunshine, caused him to groan as he used his hand to cover his eyes.
So, how about that? How about the Appa?
A familiar voice asked a familiar question right before his eyes. His ears were fine. The hustle and bustle of the street was as loud as usual, completely different from the dreadful silence he had experienced in that alley. Despite the fact, if he considered the distance, he was only one turn away.
I couldn't even make it past the street. Oh, pretty pathetic.
The scarred stall owner overheard his words of self-deprecation, and still he started to frown, seemingly displeased that he wasn't getting a response. Subaru knew from personal experience that he looked intimidating. He was in truth a very kind man. Naturally, the shopkeeper probably had no memory of this. As he thought such thoughts, Subaru once again faced him.
Say, how many times have you seen me?
How many times? You're a fresh face, man. I wouldn't forget such a conspicuous look.
What's today's date?
It's 14th day of the month of Tammuz.
Thank you. I see. The month of Tammuz, huh?
He had no idea what it was. To begin with, he didn't even know how they recorded this world's calendar, but it seemed they used days and months, and he could probably assume that they used a solar calendar. It was likely common knowledge, but he hesitated to ask about it, especially someone like the owner of the stall, who was completely focused on selling his goods. The shop owner was being very patient with him, but as expected, he seemed to be thinking that he was wasting far too much time just to sell him a single fruit. Holding out that apple, or whatever, in his palm, he asked for the umpteenth time.
So, the Appa?
He tried his best to hide his anger with a smile. His white scar was twitching, and his forced smile looked more like an expression that would scare kids away. In response, Subaru placed his hands on his hips and puffed his chest out.
Sorry, but I'm totally, absolutely broke!
Then get the hell out of here!
This angry shout caused him to recoil instinctively, after which he scurried away.
I can't go back there for a while.
He thought this, having two meanings in mind.
Ooh.
That was
Dun,
chapter
dun,
13. Wow, good job, everybody.
The cogs are loudly turning inside Subaru's head.
We're almost there.
Just
You just need
gotta-
to catch.
He's so
Where's
Nope,
close.
there it goes again.
He's so
Soon I will stop forgetting traumatic events.
Soon. All right, how's everyone feeling? Do you think we can get through the next two chapters?
He's remembered him. He's just coping hard.
Copium. He huffing that copium.
We can get through two chapters.
Got a
we
fresh
can get
bottle of
through 10
Coperade.
chapters.
Hey, yo.
I think so.
Okay, there's 9 pages for 14 and 15. 15, we have a certain knight show up, so I think it's important.
Yeah, 14 and 15 are both shorter than pretty much everything that we did last time.
Beauty. I'm
Old
gonna drop that link.
So that last one actually has one of the few times that Tape like either messes up or becomes internally inconsistent with which of the thugs were armed and which ones weren't.
Oh!
Oops.
Whoopsies! He was just like, fuck it, this is good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this
He's
was
like, he's not
We
going to live
call-
long enough for it to make a
We call
difference.
that in Iraqi.
I remember this because in the anime they change it so the little guy, he takes the knife out of Subaru and stabs him again, right?
Yes,
I
so the
think
little
it's
guy
more
is
than one.
supposed to be the one with the knife, because Tan, despite being the biggest one, is kind of a little bit nicer, a little bit softer, and is strong enough that he doesn't have the weapon on him. But the other two are meant to be armed.
I always thought it was Chin that. I always thought that it was Chin that had the weapon, but maybe that's just a long tongue.
He does. He has an actual long knife, or I think it's a sword, and Khan has like a katana-like dagger called a nata.
Yeah, not the. Yeah.
I feel so bad for these characters. We're using the nicknames that Subaru has given them, like derogatory nicknames. Not these aren't supposed to
I cannot actually.
I'm not
real
calling them
names.
Ratchins.
They have
I'm not
real
calling them
names.
Ratchins.
To be fair, they did just murder someone, so
Yeah.
True.
That probably happens a lot in this world. So can you blame
Don't their
them?
actual names have Ton, Chin, and Canada?
Yeah.
Yes.
Gaston, Ratchin.
Hey, Sambashi, how's it going? Sambashi brought up a very good point. So according to the author, return by death is an instantaneous as a movie-changing scenes, hence why Subaru is thrown off sometimes or still feels pain after dying.
yeah, there's no delay in between his consciousness at
Yeah.
all. So
They're kind of nice though.
That's why there's the bomb noise when he does it.
it's actually kind of not because it doesn't give his time.
Ooh.
It doesn't give time for his brain to
Yes.
like adjust.
That's fair.
So the reason why he's always so confused when he resets is that the string of consciousness, it doesn't change.
Carries
So-
over.
His brain is like experiencing something a human should not naturally be able to experience.
Right.
You'd think he'd be screaming though, like if it was just like if there's no like time frame between it, because like he was gruesomely murdered twice there. So
Well,
you'd think
the
when he wakes up,
difference
he'd just be
is-
screaming.
Yes.
I think it's
so the-
kind enough to let him get through complete brain death before it pops him back.
Well,
That
he
one
is
especially-
already lost, yeah.
Yeah, that one especially describes the process of his brain slowly dying to the point where he can no longer remember what the word remember means.
So he's not even in pain when he's dying there. So when he as he opens his eyes close, and he's still like, oh, I'm still in darkness. But then he opens his eyes, he's like, well, I'm back. So the pain's no longer there, but it wasn't there at the end, for a while. 'Cause he couldn't even feel it anymore.
There's one really nice bit of continuity though. Whenever he has an especially vivid death, he feels a lot of phantom pain where it's happened. So
What's
because after
yeah.
the second death with Elsa, he could still feel his eyes and stomach somewhat, even though everything had been reset and it was fine.
The light novel, I think, implies that his brain kind of didn't register the trauma for the first death. Like, it just wasn't able to realize that was something that was actually going on to him. And then the second one does, because it's acting like he's still in peril. And then at this time, the brain dies before he does, entirely. And for a lot of the other ones, if he is killed by something painful, but it instantly gets him, then he does wake up screaming.
You know what's funny? I just realized that Tepe probably got the idea of return by death from Bite the Dust. Now that I think about it.
Yo, Jojo.
You might want to just
Yeah, I'm reading the. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Jo-
It's that and Dark Souls, I think, are the inspiration.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Kyle's just having a really nice time over there saying JoJo.
Yeah, she's like, what JoJo reference? Whoa.
Is that a JoJo reference?
Yes, this
Sniff
chapter
it
does
out.
indeed have a JoJo's reference.
There are so many references in ReZero, it's kind of wild.
There is.
I love
Two
it.
men kissing. Is that a JoJo's reference?
It
It
is.
always is.
Yeah, it is. You're
I
right.
remember at some point there's like a Hunter reference, Demon Slayer reference somehow.
Yeah. I remember
No, that
in-
is right.
it was
Yeah.
in the anime too, I think, that Hunter x Hunter reference.
Mm-hmm.
What did he say?
Hunter reference comes later, I think.
That's
much-
in Arc 5, I believe.
Oh
Yeah.
shit, that's right.
No, Arc. No,
I don't think it
Arc
was in
6.
What does he say about it?
Yeah, I think you just mentioned. it.
He makes a reference to a character's to a character from Hunter x Hunter, and their
Okay.
and I think their thought process.
Okay. Good.
But Arc 6 stuff. So
Yeah. We'll
Yes,
get
that
there
is Arc
eventually.
6. I was thinking of,
Allegedly, we'll get there eventually.
I think it was, I was
In
thinking
theory.
of the One Piece reference they make in Arc 5 when they're lost.
Yes, there is a One Piece reference in Arc 5.
yes.
He found the One Piece. Quack.
Subaru is a giant otaku.
So is to pay by Con.
Yep.
So are we.
So
True.
Yay.
So for 14, there just needs to just be an extra who's unnamed in the story here as well.
Old man 14.
Mm-hmm.
Old man
Shop
14.
here 14.
He's a very young man for being an old man.
Well, different races age different rates.
Yeah.
20-year-old elf is
14. But 14, like, old man.
When,
An old man
when-
that's a 14-year-old. Like,
when you live in a
that's just-
medieval world, that's probably pretty old.
like maybe adult age, but not old man.
Well,
The goblins.
who would like to be the narrator and the old man? Well, two roles.
I can narrate.
All right, let's go.
I can be
Tail.
old man 14.
All right, let's go.
All right.
Let's see. We're gonna switch the song up for this one.
Oh well, looks like I missed a couple Subaru lines. The bottom of the first page, or
Okay.
second page here.
Let's see.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see him.
I hear doggy.
She's been very patient. She's very angry that both of us are distracted by the computer. She hates the computer. She's like, how
Fighting.
dare?
Dad, away from me for so long.
Hey, you whippersnappers in your computer.
Never understood.
She hates it. She hates. Now she's getting pets, so she's fine. Actually, how
She just
Taildy
wants
made her
attention.
voice. That's how we talk in her voice all day long. So it's pretty damn accurate.
Yeah, I talk to the kitties that way. It's like, oh, babies, hello.
And then you answer back for them. It feels good. It feels good.
It does. It feels validating.
It does. Perks of being a voice actor. Ooh.
Yes.
Oh. She is. She's satisfied. She's satiated.
Huzzah.
You all ready for this one?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I'll switch the music, and I'm gonna turn it on over to narrator Conte Aldi.
All right. We good?
Yes.
Beginning. Arc 1, Chapter 14. Fourth time's the charm.
There's my wallet, and my phone, the corn portage and ramen, and stuff are good too. No damage to my jersey or sneakers either. And, naturally,
Pulling up his jersey, he turned his head with great effort to check the state of his back. There were no scars on his middle or lower back, nor were there two knives sticking out of him.
oh, phew, thank goodness. A wound to the back is a warrior's greatest shame. As someone who once enrolled in the Kendo Club, even if I were to stray from the path of humanity, I would never stray from the path of the warrior.
He felt around his unharmed back as he grumbled. He spotted a long hair growing near his shoulder, and after a great deal of struggle, finally managed to pull it out, after which he exhaled.
So basically, that's what this is. It's hard to believe, though.
He blew the hair away with his breath and placed his now empty hand on his jaw as he surveyed the street. He was still on the same street, by a stall only a short distance away from the fruit cellar. The shady-looking owner, who had lined up various suspicious-looking jars and plates, looked at Subaru as though he were a nuisance. But this had no effect on Subaru, who leaned against the wall with his arms crossed. The sun was high, and the breeze was gentle. The street was crowded, and a lizard-drawn carriage would occasionally pass by. Subaru was even starting to get used to the dust they kicked up at this point, and his only reaction was to gently fan it away from his face. All traces of injury had vanished from his body, and his already eaten corn pottage snack was providing excellent value, since it could be eaten any number of times. He touched his smooth jaw.
Pretty pathetic for me, of all people, to forget about my special skill.
He had the ability to estimate the passage of time fairly accurately based on the growth of his stubble. Subaru had a level of self-confidence that bordered on admiration in his technique that made full use of a privilege only available to those with a consistent level of male hormones, He was certain. His facial hair was no longer than it was after he shaved it before heading to the convenience store.
So, it's like that.
He pointed the hand that was touching his jaw forward, and with the gazes of many people, including the shopkeeper on him, he snapped his fingers and...
Back to where I started. I'm returning by death.
He came to the conclusion he had previously dismissed as absurd.
Return by death, huh? It's like the ability itself is telling me to bite the dust.
The original name, Lose and Die, was more like a win and then repeat type of ability. So considering Subaru's pattern of losing and returning, he felt that his current situation fit the name better from a literary perspective.
Technically, though, isn't this something like time travel?
It was limited, but this could be considered what one would call time travel. In short, Subaru had become a time traveler, something he could only dream of before. To be honest, the possibility had been bouncing around his head until some 10-odd minutes ago, but he shied away from it due to the harsh activation condition. He also felt that it was more likely that there was some wandering super healer, who happened to encounter them. And most of all, the main reason he thought it unlikely.
Generally speaking, temporal magic is considered to be the highest class of magic, so it'd be strange for me to have it right from the start. To begin with, even though one may dream of going back in time, it'd be impossible to actually do it. Or so common sense would suggest.
Having said this, he cocked his head, wondering what about a parallel world summoning adhered to any sort of common sense. Thinking of it this way, his earlier feelings of obstinate rejection would also fade away.
Moreover, if I'm actually returning by death, all the strange stuff now would suddenly make sense.
His first death, to put it briefly, was when he went to the loot house with Satella. He had his defenseless stomach torn open and unable to even shout out a warning. He ended up getting Satella wrapped up in this, an absolutely inexcusable development. His second death was after Felt and Rom were murdered. Elsa had slaughtered him, his resistance completely futile. When he first returned by death, he assumed the discrepancy in time meant it was a different day, but in truth, he had returned to the same point on the same day. His third death had happened recently. He had experienced it some 10-odd minutes ago. It truly was a pointless death, but I couldn't think of a more fitting one. For him to actually end up getting killed by random small fry at the very start, it was like every single choice had a bad end attached to it, and it kind of felt like a poorly designed adventure game.
Wait, I've died 3 times in just half a day?
Considering human life was generally considered to be something you only got one of, dying 3 times in the span of half a day truly was nonsensical in every way. Subaru had certainly lived a mediocre life these past 17 years, but if one considered that he had avoided death 17 times 365 times 3 times thus far, it was rather moving.
Oh, I'm just really bad at staying alive.
He was too used to the comfort of his old world, due to which he could not keep up with the rapid-fire instant death events this one kept throwing at him. The fact that he was kept getting lured into obviously dangerous situations was probably another reason.
Thinking back to the causes of the first and second time, it was probably Elsa both times.
The first time, the one lurking around in the darkness of the house, was probably Elsa, the corpse of a giant old man. That had to be Rom, but it was hard to imagine that Rom would end up dying regardless of Subaru's verbal gaffe.
Could Felt have been in there? I couldn't confirm that much,
Naturally, Rom was most likely accompanying Felt for her negotiation. That being the case, she was definitely linked to his death. If things were like the second time, it was very likely that Felt's greed caused negotiations to break down.
She pointlessly provoked her, and ended up getting killed for it, maybe.
Considering her extremely competitive spirit, it was certainly possible. And right as Elsa had silenced them, Subaru and Satella arrived with terrible timing. This was probably how the first time went.
The second time was quite a bit simpler, wasn't it? I just happened to be one of the people silenced.
Thinking of it this way, perhaps Satella ended up arriving there after they got murdered. He knew about her magical ability, but he doubted that the homicidal maniac would give her time to chant. Satella was probably at a disadvantage 8 or 9 times out of 10.
Wait. I've been killed by the same person twice. Elsa's basically a certain death encounter. Final answer. Also, is there even a need to take countermeasures?
Subaru heard his now calm mind ask this. Right, why did he have to think about what would happen if he encountered Elsa? Frankly speaking, the loot house was the only place he ran the risk of encountering her. And the reason he wanted to go to the loot house was in order to obtain Satella's insignia. And the reason he wanted to do that was to repay her for saving him. But since Return by Death had brought him back to right after he'd been summoned, this debt had appeared with time. Satella's cold reaction to him on his third time was proof of this. She didn't know him, meaning he had no relation whatsoever to the Satella of that timeline, and his debt no longer existed. Meaning, he could forget all about this insignia business, and instead focus on avoiding those bad end flags. He didn't know why he was granted such an ability, but it was a very valuable skill that would allow him to learn of future developments. He would avoid any dangers he could avoid. That was the right thing to do. He had obtained something that appeared to be time travel. It would be meaningless if he didn't use it this way.
Fortunately, I now know that my cell phone is worth quite a bit. Even without relying on ROM, if I can find some shop I can trust and sell it off, I'll be able to create a war chest.
More than 20 holy gold coins. He didn't know how much that was, but he figured it would buy him decent lodgings for quite a bit while. And then he would sharpen his fangs there until the day he was ready to bite.
Well, I still have no plan as to what exactly I'll be biting into.
He wasn't exceptionally knowledgeable on any particular subject, nor did he have anything he was passionate about. To maintain a broad but shallow knowledge of many things, such was the stance of the modern generation, and Subaru was no different.
Once I sell the cell phone, I guess I'll have no choice but to get hired as an assistant at some shop or something while I've still got the money.
He was extremely uneasy about how he would earn a living since he had no job experience, but doing some cheap labor should at least be better than getting involved in bloodshed. At least he most likely wouldn't end up dying thrice in half a day.
It's simple then. The sun will set if I don't get moving right away. Right, old man?
I thought you were muttering something for a while, but what's all of this all of a sudden? Even if you ask me, it's not like I'd know.
The stall owner next to him responded with an annoyed expression as Subaru looked for agreement. He had a turban on his head and was running a stall that sold jars and plates. Regardless of Subaru murmuring nearby, it didn't appear to be one that attracted customers.
Wonder if I should sell my stuff like this. But I wonder if I'd actually make anything if I tried selling things like you, with those crappy jars and stuff. What do you think, old man?
Don't say that crap while looking at someone else's merchandise! What's with you?
I'm a man who will one day be famed for his wealth. You could even call me the cell phone aficionado. Say, doesn't that wrapping on your head itch? Why do you have it on? You balding or something?
I don't understand most of what you're saying. On top of which, you're being extremely rude. Go away! I've got a business to run here.
His attitude was cold as he spoke in a strangely feminine manner.
Guess people treat strangers the same in any world, huh?
Subaru thought this as he sighed on the inside.
But then, there are also some people so kind, they help others, even when it puts them in a tough spot.
She had something precious stolen from her, and was even in the middle of chasing the culprit. Still, she stopped to save some useless guy she didn't even know, wasted her time healing him, and tried to leave without receiving anything in return. And then this kind girl let some useless fellow accompany her for his own self-satisfaction, and she ended up dying a horrible death for it.
Thinking back to the third time, there's a whole lot I learned. Rather, it'd be pathetic if I didn't learn. But I'm not that stupid.
Huh? What are you saying now?
There's probably a pattern here. You could even call it fate. No matter how many times it repeats, this will keep happening. For instance,
Felt stole Satella's insignia all 3 times. Rom had been killed in the loot house both the first and second time. Felt had probably died the first time too. If so, what happened to Satella, who most likely arrived at the loot house the second time as well? She didn't have a burden holding her back. Would she have been able to win against Elsa?
I don't know. And I probably won't know. But there's things I do know.
If he just left things time, Felt and Rom would definitely be killed, and Satella would end up battling Elsa. So what if those two died? One was a small-time villain who dealt in stolen goods, and the other was a brat who shamelessly tried to pawn off said stolen items at exorbitant prices. They were both criminals, and it would probably be a good thing if they died.
Oh, I really am a child of the modern era, even though I absolutely ridicule these emotions from behind a computer.
Mercy and compassion were just stupid. That was supposedly what he believed. At least, he wasn't just pretending as if he did. He thought of himself as a cold-hearted person, and that all modern people were like that. So no matter what situation he ended up in, he wouldn't be particularly moved and wouldn't react very strongly. Or so he convinced himself. The death of a few people he knew was no exception to this.
But still, I don't want that. It feels horrible. Those two aren't good people. Far from it. But when I know that familiar faces are about to die, I can't just stand by and let it happen.
But in the end, it seemed that was all just an act. A result of his experience in the virtual world. When the weight of reality set in, his tenets easily crumbled away. That was how flimsy they were. He wasn't really that firm on these principles to begin with, though, so it was no loss to be rid of them.
And of course, there's Satella. Or rather, that girl. I can't abandon her either.
Calling that name, Subaru thought to himself that it was most likely an alias. Thinking back to the first time, she was pretty reluctant to say that name. And then there was their exchange in the third world. It was painfully clear. To sum up, it seemed she didn't trust him enough. He hadn't built up enough affection and failed the name acquisition event as a result.
Alright then. I'll do my best to actually learn her name this time.
Subaru started warming up on the spot and stretched his body to the limit. As Subaru started his radio calisthenics routine, the shopkeeper was already beyond the point where he had anything to say. Subaru performed routine 2 in front of the speechless man, and having worked up a good sweat, he turned around and suddenly raised his hands.
There are times when a man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. Isn't that right, old man?
Right, absolutely right. So get out of here!
He planned to end it with a posed look, but the terrible reaction caused his face to twitch. The shopkeeper drove him away with a perfunctory gesture, and Subaru ran off from the stall where he had spent such a long time deep in thought. Pushing his way through the crowd for a while, he had probably run about 200 meters.
Well then.
Subaru stopped and brushed his bangs upward. He looked here and there in a pointlessly exaggerated manner, and then smoothly placed his hand against a wall to lean on it, after which he closed his eyes and once again smoothed his hair. Then,
Where should I go find you, not Satella?
he started his quest with words that didn't bode well for his future prospects.
Pachi Pachi! That is the end of chapter 14! Great job, everyone.
Superhero healer, ugh. That stumble was bad.
Superhero.
Super
Magic hands.
Magic hands. I like that chapter. It was just a nice break from the intensity.
Yeah.
Mhm. And also explains a lot too, and gives his perspective.
But Subaru's very mean in that. Like when that old man, he was just contemplating beside him, and he just goes, "Your crappy products," you know.
Also,
That's
are you
kind
going
of-
bald?
Yeah.
He's still in that.
And like he was
kind of-
expecting this man to, be with him here on this, like as if, I should agree with this young man that's calling me bald and my product's crappy.
He's still stuck in that like modern sense of like people will just joke around with you, even strangers.
Oh yeah.
Whereas in this world, if you're a stranger, they're not going to really be interested in you.
Especially right after he's like, I shouldn't put myself in dangerous situations. Hey, random person.
Hello, random citizen.
Oh gosh. Y'all ready for chapter 15?
Yeah.
Yes.
Last one for today, because I think it's getting late for some people. All right, we got Subaru, we got our Tanshin, Khan, and Reinhard all available. Is
A
there?
confident, humble, and authoritative young man.
Oh, I like that description.
That doesn't describe me at all.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Young man.
That's why it's voice acting.
Oh no!
You know, we all got faces of voice actors. It's just a life.
Indeed. Face for radio.
Exactly.
Can I actually, before we go on to the next chapter, I have to ask, but what is the thing that Subaru was chanting as he was stretching? You know, cha 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 cha.
I have no idea how it would work, which is why it was weird when I did
I
it.
think
Yeah,
it's just
fan of Eurovision,
stretching noises.
It's,
I think
it's radio kinesthetics, so I think he does it in the morning and they play like a little track for it.
Mhm.
Do it along to it, so I think he was just humming or like singing along to the tune while he was doing the stretch.
Yeah, you gotta do to the beat, you know.
I
Yep.
looked for a while to tell if that was meant to be like his tracksuit stretching sound effect, or if he was actually singing like cha-la, head cha-la or something, and there's no answer to it. I just had to guess that he's just going, cha, cha, cha.
Yeah.
That was the
I got
sound
it
of his
as.
bones breaking.
Gotta
I
get it.
feel
No,
that
they're just
muted the entire
popping back
time.
into place after all of his deaths.
Pop, 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 pop. Gotta recalibrate the skeleton.
Yep.
Ugh. That sounds horrible when you put it like that.
Yeah, we
But
gotta-
it's accurate.
Oh, it's just nasty. You know?
Freddy.
Soft
I don't-
reset.
I don't like that term. I'm using my veto of reverie so that nobody can say that ever again.
Sorry.
I
I
veto
gotta
it.
take the
That's
skeleton
it.
into the shop.
Now all I can visualize is just a skeleton making that sound. Freddy's got the face for radio and a voice for print. Lies. But
It's
rough.
wild. It is
Oh.
wild though that like 3 or 4 of these chapters are just one chapter in Arc 5, like lengthwise.
Yeah.
It really is. It reminds me how we could only do like 2 chapters
Just
every
a
single
Mark
day.
V.
when we did
Yeah,
it.
fuck.
I used to think, damn, we're so weak. But now when I really think about it and put it in perspective, we really strong.
I know. The
We
first
buff,
two
yo.
picked to narrate that,
It's
that
together,
chapter, I'm
strong.
like, okay, here we are.
We are the
Mhm.
Chads.
Chads. Who would like to be our narrator for
I'll
this?
do it again.
Okay,
I
Gold.
think.
Beauty.
I'm gonna say I need to go back to goblin mode now.
Exactly. Everybody else has a role here. Yeah.
Hi, hi, hi. Me and Maddie will vibe on the side. I'll control the music. And by that,
Should I
mean
grab
keeping the
Chin
soundtrack.
from you then, Pat?
If you want.
Okay.
Oh, that's right.
So is that an okay as in you're taking Chin, or an okay as in like leaving status quo?
I will take him since you won't have to talk to yourself then.
Okay.
Maddie, do you want to
Oh,
take...
but that's the best part.
That's where I really get to act.
Yeah, that's what
I've
have
shown you all the
experience doing
printout from the one narration I had to do. Where I had like 20 different voices plus narrator.
Oh, God,
that. That's
right.
funny.
Oh,
Boy.
Yeah.
yeah.
Good
yeah.
times.
Well, if Palazard is taking over Chin, Maddie, do you want to do Gaston?
Okay, sure.
That way it's nice and even.
Can't help but think of like Beauty and the Beast now, you know.
No, what?
Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, no one's.
I'm especially
No one's
good at
neck is-
expectorate.
Yo, Reverie does musicals next. I'm down.
No one
yes,
stabs
I
random
can't
dudes
sing.
in the back like Gaston.
Oh. Hey, that's okay. Everyone can sing.
He was literally the one who does that.
Child, I ate 5 dozen eggs each day to help me grow really large.
Well,
And
we
now
have
I'm
our
a man,
guest
I
on.
eat 6 dozen eggs, and now I'm roughly the size of a barge.
Yo, what? Space like Gaston.
No one hits like
I
us,
use
no
antlers in
one
all
can.
of my decorating.
Bye bye,
Oh, God.
guy. Gaston.
Gaston!
We need to have like just a Disney sing-along one night. We have to do it.
That'd be so much
I
That'd
think
be
we
fun.
struggle with Katakao and White Fox enough without needing to get Disney on.
Now
board.
we're going
Hey,
after the mouse.
Hey, if we-
Oh, Mickey.
I'm here to ruin your whole entire days!
I'll do
You'll
it
not
again.
be able to survive the
I'll fucking
mouse.
Do it again.
Mm-mm.
Oh, Mickey, let me help.
The demons told me to.
Oh, Mickey. You can't touch the crack at this hour.
Shut up, Minnie. I can do whatever the hell I want.
All right. We ready?
Yes.
I think so. I don't know.
I'm giddy, so yeah.
I don't know.
Do it.
Do it.
Quiet on set.
Do it.
Quiet on set. Quiet on set. Chapter 15. I'm going to quickly, Okay, yeah, we're on the right one. All righty. Oh, shit. All right, whenever you're ready.
All right. Arc 1, Chapter 15. Because he is the Sword Saint. Thinking about it, his meetings with Not Satella relied on a lot of random coincidence. He did encounter her the first and third times, but the only connection was that the both occurred around this main street. He heard from the shopkeeper wearing the turban that was commonly called the Trading Street. It would have been great if he was at least obsessed with keeping time, but he hadn't done the stalkerish act of recording exactly when he met her. In the end, it was quickest to think back to the third time's pattern, but a thought came to him.
Back then, just how long did I spend sulking by that fruit shop?
He sunk down to the ground, overcome by dizziness, and spent an unknown amount of time hugging his knees. It felt like it was only a few minutes, but it also felt like it could have been an hour. Regardless of what the answer was, all Subaru could say was, I don't know.
Should I just wander around the street looking for her? And just hope my beauty radar works?
Or maybe his silver-haired hottie sensor. This ability was completely useless in his old world, but he'd been able to use it with great effect here. He placed both hands in front of his face and straightened a finger on each and went meow meow as a number of people looked at him strangely. He felt like he could sense something and decided to follow whatever was beckoning him to him for the moment. His surroundings steadily changed into an atmosphere he was familiar with.
Whoa! Looks like my senses working fine as ever!
That and other thoughts were filling him when he suddenly noticed. Without realizing it, he ended up leaving the street and was now entering Narrow Alley.
Isn't this where I first met her?
It looked very similar, but he was unsure. It wasn't that different from the path into the slums in terms of atmosphere, on top of which he had only been to the alley of their meeting in the first world and had never visited it since. The second time was clearly in a different alley, and thinking back to the third time, that was yet another dead end. Even if felt stealing Satella's insignia was a fixed event, which alley she should run into after the fact seemed to be vary depending on the situation. Perhaps it was the same the first two times, but the third time, things seemed to have changed slightly due to Subaru's presence. Having thought this far, Subaru suddenly realized just how shallow his thought process was. Maybe he could find Felt or Satella now that he was in a familiar alley. However, that also meant the possibility of a different reunion. In short,
I'm so damn tired of seeing you, Tonchin-kan.
Subaru turned around fed up and found the usual suspects blocking his path. There was no difference in appearance, clothing, or countenance. Their goal and equipment were most likely the same as well, no progress whatsoever. It was only natural since he was back in the same spot.
Even though I had such a hard time finding Noxatella and Fel.
The reason he was unable to find them was probably because their actions depended on many factors independent of him. By contrast, the reason he kept running into these guys was most likely because they were targeting him from the start. That's why he was encountering them despite taking a different path each time.
Now that I've come up with a conjecture that doesn't make me happy in the slightest, what exactly do you guys want?
Is what the hell is this guy? Has this guy been muttering about?
He probably doesn't get what's going on here. How about we go ahead and teach him?
Even this conversation between Ton and Chin followed the template exactly, which caused Subaru's mood to sink further. However, he also felt that he couldn't take them lightly just because he was tired of dealing with them. The clear conditions for the Ton-Chin-Kan encounter wasn't that demanding, but it wasn't like he had a 100% chance of breaking through. After all, they were the cause of his third death. Maybe Noxatella would save him like the first time, or maybe he could beat them up, or like the second time, but he had no guarantees. Things went really well the second time, but this time wouldn't necessarily go down the same way. There was also the high chance there was a big event waiting for him after this, and he didn't want to sustain any injuries.
On the other hand, I wouldn't want to escape by handing over my stuff over. I could use those to negotiate.
The ideal would be to get out of here without sustaining any losses like he did the second time, and if he could avoid wasting time like the first time, that would be best of all. Subaru crossed his arms and cocked his head, wondering if there was some way he could get away from them. On the other side, perhaps thinking Subaru's attitude meant he was ignoring them despite their seemingly superior position, Ton-Chin-Kan's expression were dyed in hostility. He had at least had to make a decision before they drew their weapons. As he lamented their lack of patience, Subaru figured he would have to go with a surprise attack after all. Suddenly, he remembered the moment of his third death. As he lay there on the verge of death, all he could do was hear. Back then, what was it they were talking about? His dying brain couldn't comprehend it at the time, but it's possible now. Yeah, that's it.
God!
Ton-Chin-Kan were caught off guard by a sudden call for help, causing them to jump. The volume was such that it smashed the silence of the alley, and even tore through the hustle and bustle of the main street. His absurd sensitivity was well known when he took kendo, and he had long since stripped him of any shame when it came to screaming. Something like screaming for help did not damage his pride even slightly.
Someone! I need a man!
Bastard! Don't screw around! You're seriously yelling at a time like this?
You're supposed to listen to us if you don't want to get hurt. That's how it's supposed to be. You can't just do this without even listening to our demands.
Shut up! Who gives a damn what normally happens? Off beat, off path, of course wrong way. They're all on the right track. As if I want to deal with you guys. I just want to have some fun with gold and silver hair beauties.
As Ton-Chin-Kan went into a frenzy and stomped their feet, Subaru angrily yelled at them. Subaru was putting on a defiant act as he verbally attacked them, but although it wasn't showing, a sense of panic was rapidly building up within him. The plan to seek help was based on his very vague memories of his last moments in the third world. The moment before his consciousness descended to darkness, someone among them had said something like guards and run. His shoddy strategy relied on this tiny hint. It was also the fact that when he beat those guys the second time, it seemed the people on the street simply turned a blind eye, and even though they knew he was getting robbed.
So it was a mistake after all.
Trying to scare us like that. I was just a little nervous.
Just a little bit.
A real tiny bit.
Together, they denied how pathetic they were in a very pathetic fashion. The men took a deep breath to calm down as if to regain control of the situation after Subaru's stunt. And then they drew their weapons. A knife, a rusty nata, and...
Why are you the only one without a weapon? Didn't have the money to buy one?
Shut up. I'm strong without one. Underestimate me and I'll beat you to death, you damn brat.
If only I had a recording of the second time. I'd love to show it to you.
As he thought back to his flawless overhead throw, he started to bask in his own admiration. On the other hand, his situation was now so bad his mind continually warned of danger. They had already drawn their weapons, greatly reducing his chances of success. Forget escaping without any injuries or losses. He wasn't even sure he could make out of there in one piece.
Let me go already. I'd rather avoid the pain.
Having died 3 times, Subaru now understood that it wasn't something he could get used to no matter how many times it happened. Furthermore, all his deaths until now were horribly painful ones brought about by blades. That sharp pain was always fresh and electrifying, like his nerves were being scraped. He'd rather not go through that again, and most of all,
I've been able to come back from death until now, but there's no guarantee it will happen again.
he couldn't be sure that this ability didn't have a limited number of uses. There was no number engraved on his body or anything, but they say even Buddha would get annoyed if he touched his face 3 times. Assuming that was the case here, he had already run out of continues. If he pathetically died a pointless death here, his life in another world would reach a true bad end.
In short, the best thing to do would be to run away, even if I get injured.
The most lethal of them was naturally the tried and true knife. That Nato was terribly rusty, so it'd probably be no different from a normal hit, as if you blocked it with this plastic bag. The empty-handed thug was no problem. As he watched Tan Chin-kan approach, he immediately made up his mind. Subaru was completely focused on Chin and started counting down his head as he looked for an opening. 3, 2... hold on just one moment. 3, 2...
That's enough.
That voice suddenly and clearly tore through the tension in the alley. Its dignified tone hadn't the slightest hint of hesitation or mercy. All of those who listened to it were struck by its overwhelming presence and were naturally inclined to obey it. Subaru raised his head, and Tan Chin-kan turned around. There was a young man standing there. What first drew their eyes was his red hair that was like a blazing inferno. Right below were shining blue eyes that could only be described as daring. His extraordinary good looks only further amplified his awe-inspiring presence, and a single glance was all it took to tell that he was someone of great importance. He was tall, slender, and well-proportioned, and he wore well-tailored black clothing. At his waist, a knight's sword that, despite its simple appearance, gave off an abnormally intimidating atmosphere.
Regardless of the circumstances, I will not permit any further violence against him. You've gone far enough.
As he said this, he calmly walked past Tan Chin-kan and stood between them and Subaru. Both Subaru and the men were left speechless by this excessively majestic act. But it seemed they had different reasons for their silence. Subaru had fallen silent from surprise, and because he was anxiously waiting to see how this never-before-seen development would progress. But Tan Chin-kan were different. Their faces were going pale.
No way.
Chin pointed at the man, his lips turning purple as they trembled.
Blazing red hair and eyes blue as the sky, and that sword sheath with a dragon's claw engraved in it.
He pointed to each location as if to make sure, and then gulped.
Reinhard! The Sword Saint Reinhard!
Seems I won't need to introduce myself. The title is a bit much for me, though.
The young man called Reinhard muttered in a self-deprecating manner, but the glint in his eyes did not waver. With his gaze piercing them, the men stepped back as though they were overwhelmed. They looked at each other to decide where to run, but...
I'll leave it at that if you flee. You better head out onto the street. But if you wish to use force, I shall be your opponent.
He placed his hand on the handle of his sword and jerked his chin towards Subaru, who was standing behind him.
It would be 3 on 2 in that case. In terms of numbers, you would have the advantage. I do not know to what extent my meager strength can aid him, but as a knight, I shall face you.
You're kidding! There's no way!
Reinhardt's declaration caused them to panic. They ran off in the street, having forgotten to even conceal their weapons. They were so panicked they couldn't even make any parting threats like they did the first time. That in itself showed just how extraordinary the man before him was.
I'm glad we're both safe. Are you unhurt?
After he watched the men leave, the young man turned around with a smile. Suddenly, the air of intimidation covering the alley disappeared. Realizing that even that was something the young man had consciously manifested, Subaru couldn't help but fall silent. Most of all,
To be this cool after doing all that? This is beyond the level of Chad.
his face, voice, demeanor, and actions, they were all scoring extremely high on the Chad index. If he also had the personality and pedigree to match, He had to be doing something evil behind the scenes or the world's balance would be thrown off. Anyhow, setting aside his heart overflowing with envy, it was the fact that he had been saved. Subaru dropped to his knees and prostrated himself on the spot.
I am ever so thankful to you for saving my life. Please, allow me to express my gratitude. I, Natsuki Subaru, admire your gallant spirit.
Relax. You don't have to go that far. They felt the need had lost their advantage when it became 3-on-2. It would have been difficult if I were alone.
No, judging by how terrified they were, forget 3-on-1. They'd back down if it was even 10-on-1. What's with this guy? Is he truly a chap to the core? Both body and soul? You're raising my roots flags!
It would be a real tearjerker, so a handkerchief would be indispensable. As he spoke random drivel, Subaru once again took a good look at Reinhard. The more he looked at him, the more it seemed like his handsome features were sculpted by God himself, but his outfit didn't really give the impression that he was a guard. Beyond the quality of his materials, his clothing didn't seem very different from those of the general public milling about the street.
Mr. Reinhard? Can I call you that?
You don't need to be so formal, Subaru.
You sure closed the distance smoothly. Thank you once again, Reinhard. You were the only one who responded to my screams. How terribly lonely.
Considering how many people there was no way he was the only one who had heard. Reinhard lowered his eyes slightly as Subaru lamented the lack of human kindness.
I don't really want to say this, but it can't be helped. For most people, it would be very risky to antagonize such fellows. In that respect, your decision to call for the guards was the correct one.
From the way you're talking, you're a guard? You don't really look like one.
I hear that often. Well, today's my day off, so I'm not in uniform. That's probably one of the reasons.
As Reinhard spread his arms with a strained smile, Subaru retorted internally. The main reason he didn't seem like a guard was because he seemed to be the first thing from the somewhat unrefined image the term was suggested to add on to.
I believe they called you something like Sword Saint?
My family is somewhat special, you see. Every day feels like the weight of their expectations could crush me.
He shrugged his shoulders in a lighthearted manner. It looked like he had a sense of humor as well. There was already no doubt whatsoever that he was a Chad in both body and soul. Subaru couldn't hide his wonder toward this man whose very existence was Chad, but Reinhard stared at him intently.
You've got unusual hair and clothing, and that goes for your name too. Where are you from? For what purpose have you come to the capital of Lugunica?
It's a bit hard to answer that first one. The typical setting of a small country to the east got some backlash, so... how about further east then?
Subaru thought it seemed like a pretty safe answer, but Reinhard's reaction was stronger than expected.
East of Lugunica? Surely you don't mean beyond the Grand Cascade. Some kind of joke, perhaps?
Grand Cascade?
Subaru cocked his head at this unfamiliar term. He figured it was something like a waterfall, but he's completely clueless when it came to as the geography around here. To begin with, he didn't even know how large the capital was. As far as Subaru knew, the Lugunica place only existed of a trading street, some alleys, and the slum. Essentially the same level as the old world. That only consisted of his home, his room, and the convenience store.
Thinking of it that way, I'm basically being a shut-in even in another world. This has already become an inherent part of me. I really am something.
It doesn't seem like you're trying to trick me, so let's leave it at that. Anyway, it does look like you're not from around here. You must have had a reason for coming here, right? Lugunica is currently in a bit of a complex situation. I can aid you if you wish.
No, it's your day off, right? You don't have to throw it away just to help me out. You've already done more than enough. But while we're at it, there is something I'd like to ask you.
He shook his head at Reinhard's proposal, and then raised his finger as if he just remembered something. Reinhard casually nodded, giving him the go-ahead.
I'm not well versed in the happenings of the world, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to answer, though.
Well, What I'm asking about relates to a person I'm searching for, so that's fine. So, have you seen a silver-haired girl in a white robe around here?
Having surveyed the main street several times, he could tell that Natsuto's clothes stood out. Her silver hair was rare, much like Subaru's black hair. And of course there was a robe with the hawk embroidered on it. Thinking back, that white robe seemed expensive in its own way. Considering she had an insignia with a jewel embedded in it, he guessed her lineage must have been a prestigious one.
A white robe and silver hair.
In addition, she's super gorgeous, and there's this cat. Well, it's not like she goes around showing it off. That's all I can tell you about her. Ring any bells?
There would be no doubt if it was her if the cat spear was matched as well, but since it was usually hidden in her hair most of the times, that was probably too much to ask for. Mentioning her beauty, he ended up thinking she and Reinhard, who was very handsome himself, would look perfect standing next to each other. This arbitrary thought caused a strange envy to well up within him.
What are you planning to do when you find her?
I'm going to find something she lost. Or rather, it will be something she's looking for. Anyway, I'll find it and give it to her.
Of course, Subaru didn't actually have it on him right now, and it was even possible that it hadn't even been stolen yet. Reinhardt narrowed his eyes at Subaru's response, and contemplated for a moment.
No, sorry, I don't really know. I could help you with your search if you wish, though.
I can't impose on you like that. It's alright. I'll find it one way or another.
Subaru raised his hands when Reinhard offered his aid, and then decided that he would wander around the main street for now. If things went well, he might catch sight of her on the street like he did the third time. If possible, it'd be good to stop Felt on the spot and prevent the theft entirely. Thinking about what could happen after, he felt that would be the best way, and started getting impatient.
Problem is how to stop her with that agility of hers. Repeated sideways jump like this to block the road. A zone defensive?
What unusual movements. For what purpose?
It's defensive play to pressure the opponent and snatch away the ball. Despite how it looks, it's a well-established defense. Later, you end up in a position where you have no effect whatsoever on the ball. It's that kind of maneuver.
Subaru was someone who, when he participated in dodgeball, would simply stand right by the line in such a way that you didn't know whether he was infield or outfield. It wasn't uncommon for him to go entire games without once touching the ball.
Anyway, I'd better head to the trading street first.
Are you leaving?
Yeah, I'm going. You really helped me out. I'll definitely repay you someday. Can I meet you at the guard station or something?
I believe so. You just have to mention my name. Otherwise, on days off, I'm usually wandering about the capital.
I wouldn't really want to wander around town looking for a man. This isn't a dating sim.
He replied with a joke and suddenly raised his hand. Reinhard responded.
Be careful.
Huh. Cool to the very end.
As if those words were giving him a push forward, Subaru successfully left the alley, having sustained no injuries or losses, never realizing that blue eyes were on him, appraising him.
You did an amazing job, guys.
Let's go!
Yay!
Reinhardt's back, baby!
Jeez, it's been so while since I did that voice, and it just sounded so wrong on so many levels.
No, it sounded so
It'll come back.
good.
It's okay.
Reinhard, so pretty.
It's also the
Reinhard's-
first re-meeting of Reinhard, so it makes sense.
He's
Yeah.
just sad. He
The
just wants to
self-deprecation
spend time
bros.
with Subaru, just have a friend.
Depression
If he just
friends.
rejects him.
Can I actually just talk about the moment where, like, Subaru's going around and he's like, I have my silver-haired beauty sensor, and, like, he's just going Chad here, and he's super mega Chad. It's really, like, this is so funny.
Yeah, it was funny. I read that for the first time there, and I was like, what does he say? Oh.
Palazar, that was some solid localizations.
Yeah, it's funny.
It was a choice.
Brilliant.
Great job on localization, honestly, though.
Yeah,
Really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had to mute my mic because I did bust out laughing for a few seconds.
I did
Yeah,
too.
I almost
Hold on,
laughed
I
when I said.
I can hear it in your narration.
Oh yeah, no, I could tell from the narration that you were like, oh, we're doing this.
It was funny. I
Like,
didn't remember
oh, okay,
that he did
just
this,
roll
but-
with it.
The beauty center caught
Oh, she's so
Kyle's.
beautiful.
Oh my
Oh.
god. I almost
Yeah.
shit myself. I had to like throw
Yeah, we heard
myself.
Kyle's through walls.
Yeah.
Mm.
That was good. I didn't expect that, and every time I hear like silver bell or amethyst eyes, I take a shot in my head.
I know, right? It literally is like to pay thirsting over Amelia challenge impossible. Don't thirst over Amelia challenge impossible.
You will die of alcohol poisoning, and you will not return by death.
Ugh.
Hi, Purple.
Hey, Purple! He's in the
Oh, I
in
thought
chat.
Purple came into the chat for a second there, like the actual voice chat, not that. No.
You
Oh,
You
yeah,
got me
okay.
excited, guys.
Sorry.
We're sorry for betraying your expectations.
She said hello to you too. Wait.
Hi, Granda.
Oh
We're
yeah,
making
really.
you proud, Grandpappy.
You know what's really funny about reading like envy or greed or what any of the sins when you're like reading narration? It's like, is this like a reference, a hint?
Is this a reference? Is this pulls out the little board pointing to everything with the tracks?
This means something. This means something. It has to mean something.
To pay just sprinkling seeds all over the place.
Yeah, the cascading falls. Has that ever been mentioned before?
Yes.
Great waterfall.
It's the Great Waterfall,
Mhm.
yeah. So
Okay.
it's like, so the entire world of ReZero is flat, and there's not really a
Yes.
concept of like an ocean or anything. But there's like this great waterfall on the edge of one part of the world in particular, and when Reinhard is saying beyond the Great Cascade, he means like someone who is not from this world, essentially.
It's the end of the universe, pretty much.
Possibly.
Right
What do
now,
you know?
I forgot how much detail was in the scene in particular, because it actually like points and hints to quite a few things later on. But I understand what Tepei means by saying that once we get a chapter from like Reinhard's perspective, there are going to be so many spoilers, which is why
Yeah.
his named chapter is going to be very later on in the series, apparently. Because
That makes sense
literally
to me.
just the details of Reinhard staring at Subaru and saying offhandedly that you don't seem to be misleading me, all of these details are just so important to the series.
Because you can probably tell the truth, just
Yeah.
like Krush or something.
Yeah, so well he can do that exact thing. So he knows that Subaru isn't lying to him. So it's
What's-
really interesting that he continues to look at him as he leaves.
What's wild is Reinhardt and Puck are pretty much the only two that never respond to his Subaruisms, like ever. They just either fly completely over their head or they already know what they mean. It's like mentioning an Otome game or a dating sim. Or even when he actually says Ikimen or Chad here.
Yeah.
Reinhardt doesn't, like, it doesn't phase him at all.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting about that is like, like Reinhard's like appraisal of Subaru is like maybe he can already tell the truth. Like maybe he already knows more than he even lets on about Subaru. Like we don't know, right?
Reinhard can.
And that's the reason why I trust him, because like in this chapter, this is what I was gonna say. In this chapter, Subaru's like, if only people could see me for the real me, they would know that I'm actually a nice guy, right? Like I'm not as threatening. I don't have this intimidating look at me. Where he finally does meet somebody with Reinhard who does have that appraisal of him, it saves his life, you know. And it's like a almost fated like moment where he like asks the world for something like this. And even in this like chapter, it mentions that, you know, this person is blessed by the gods themselves. Like it's almost like, you know, the will of the world is allowing Subaru to move forward from this position, you know.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think it's also one of those things where also like maybe for the audience a bit appraises Subaru's nature a bit more, because I think it also like shows off the fact that when he's doing a lot of this stuff, it is just completely a joke. He's not being serious about it. Like with a lot of his joking scenes, like if you take them a little too literally, you could think of it as like a detriment to his personality, right? But with Reinhard,
Well, it's him
kind of
trying to protect
appraising
himself, you know.
appraising him that way. Yeah, it's like it's one of those things where you joke to kind of deal with problems, right?
And also it's like, you know, to make yourself seem more sociable, you know.
Yeah. And Reinhard being able to just completely see the person that Subaru is without any sort of like difficulties with perception is really interesting, I think. Especially considering Reinhard does actually have the ability to read minds and stuff. I don't think he uses it actively unless he has to, but he does have that ability to do that.
Is it reading minds or reading intentions?
I'm pretty sure he can literally read your thoughts if you wanted to.
That's kind of OP.
Is there anything that man can't do?
I think he
have an
doesn't
actual
use it.
friendship.
I don't know how correct this is. I'm pretty sure he doesn't use it just because it'd be like a like kind of getting in someone's privacy kind of thing. Like it's a very deeply intimate thing being able to read someone's thoughts.
But Reinhard and Subaru have a deeply intimate relationship.
Oh yeah.
Subaru in his mind being like, "Oh, he's so handsome."
Reinhard
Alan.
Subaru is a
Reinhard.
JoJo's
Pretty.
reference.
And someone brought up a good point in the chat as well that Puck can like read emotion too. He can like read
Yes.
your intent.
Yes, you remember in one of the chapters earlier, he was like, "I can tell that he's not lying," and that's what he said to Leah, right? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
to Tella, not to Tella.
I'm really excited to see, especially in the later on arcs, how like the characterization of Reinhard goes. I'm so excited for when we eventually get his named chapter because I think that's going to be a huge like. It's going to be a couple bomb drops in the series, right? Like,
Yeah, I
just a
can't wait
couple
for arc
things that
11
are-
either.
Yeah.
It'll probably be 10, if I had to guess, because what used to be 8 and is now going to be 9 was meant to be the one focused on the Feld camp.
Yes. So it's exciting to see where things are going to go going forward. And I really enjoy how well Reinhard is characterized here. There's a little bit more detail than there was in the light novel, from what I'm remembering. And it puts a lot more mission into who he is.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you mean mystery? He's just the Chad of all Chads.
Yeah, exactly.
Virgin Subaru versus Chad Reinhardt.
Chadliest Chad that ever chatted.
Oh god.
I don't know how much I can add to this 2v1 situation.
I just really appreciate just how immediately he comes in there, and even just from the description and the narration alone, there's just a presence that can be felt from just his presence there. Like the immediate change in the guard to, like, we're even looking at someone who supposedly looks identical to Satella without being any concern at all, got like jumped on, stepped on, beat up, and never felt any like real fear or consideration. And then Reinhardt's here and they immediately bolt away.
Yeah, it actually does mention that, like, once the three of them bolt away, the presence that he had in the area disappeared.
Yeah, it mentioned it was a conscious decision on his part to do that.
It's a
But,
strong bugger.
This is already the start of him and Subaru's kind of like friendship too, I think, because I don't think it shows it too well, but Reinhard is kind of like surprised about how little Subaru knows about him, because obviously like everyone in the world knows who Reinhard is. I was about to say Subaru, what the fuck? But yeah, so Subaru just kind of like being like, they mentioned that you were a sword saint or something along those lines. He doesn't know who Reinhard is, and he very easily switches to casual after Reinhard requests him to do so.
Yeah. Did we just
Trying to like,
become
oh,
friends?
thank goodness I don't have all these people like
We just became best
Well-
friends.
basically licking his boots and like sucking up to him and whatever. He's like, oh, someone normal.
And it's really sad too, because he makes a joke about how there's expectations that are crushing him, but I'm not too sure that's a joke.
No, he understands Uber's like, I understand self-deprecating humor.
Well, Reinhardt does have the divine protection of being able to communicate with everyone in the perfect manner. So maybe becoming self-deprecating around Subaru is just how that manifests.
That's really depressing to think about.
That's
It's like a
horrible.
virus.
Well, it's meant to keep Subaru at ease, because if he's too confident, then Subaru would feel bad about himself, and being around Reinhardt, he would be envious. But Reinhardt knows that, or the Blessing knows that, so he's acting self-deprecating. Who knows?
Reinhardt is like, no, new friend, don't run away.
Don't leave
Also,
me.
That's
I
what
just
how I
want
read
to.
it too.
I want to apologize there because I saw my mic going off. I'm not sure if you heard what happened with me there, but I apologize.
Did you burp again?
No, I farted. And I just saw the
We
green.
didn't hear anything. You outed yourself.
I just saw the green thing like just lighting up around my character there in the group chat. And I was like, they definitely heard that.
You know what? There's so much music going on in the background, you could have pretended it was anything. I fart 24/7 on stream. I just pretend nothing happened. I scuff my foot if anyone asks.
You could blame it on the dog.
Exactly.
True.
Dog,
Sierra.
your foot,
Or wolf.
chair,
What the hell? You
or
farted.
wolf. That's it. Pat, you could just blame the divine protection of wind.
Yeah, there
Divine
it is.
protection. I always fart when my body starts to get too bloated.
The weight of the world is just too much. I just had to.
Yep, just gotta release some pressure. Hold on.
Could you imagine Reinhardt?
Stand back, it might blow you away.
After every battle, he's like, "Oh no, I'm in pain."
I'm pretty sure there must be a divine protection of pooping good, right? Come on.
There's a divine protection of being good in bed. I learned that the other day.
Wait, what?
Yep,
Yeah.
Reinhardt has it.
Hey,
No,
yo.
no, no. He
Hey,
doesn't.
yo.
You,
I mean,
That's
You
not
wanna
a
know-
joke. I have his wiki
Everyone.
pulled up right now.
So,
Oh
Okay.
no.
but do you want to know who has it?
who?
Camberley.
Wait, what?
The small one, yes.
Really?
Yeah,
Yep.
He does.
it's funny.
You're welcome.
No!
Hey,
Oh,
size
God.
don't matter. Size don't matter.
I'm actually traumatized.
Thanks to Pay. To Pay being a real one.
To pay, I'm never gonna financially recover from this. What the fuck?
Oh,
Yeah, he-
Damn. So all that
Um,
Reinhardt Yowie is fucking reality.
Canon, it's canon.
It's canon.
Cannon.
There should be more AO3.
Ayo.
What I would like to know is what happened that made Reinhardt realize Camberley had that and then decide to copy it for himself.
Oh.
Good
Shit,
point.
he
wait,
just
so he
wanted to
doesn't-
get his sword out of his sheath.
Just had to hit up the old blacksmith.
I'm the old blacksmith. No.
We love small kings, short kings.
Sure Kings. Hey,
What were you asking, Kyles?
So, Reinhardt has to like purposely copy something, or he doesn't just get it on his own?
It's kind of responds to his desire or need for it at a time, but he needs to know that it exists. That's shown
dang.
to us when he gets
Ah,
it
so he's just
from,
got that in his back pocket then. He's just
Yep.
waiting.
He's ready for everything.
Mhm.
Oh,
Like
God.
the Swiss Army knife of blessings.
Phil,
I think he
come to my
copies
castle.
Liliana's during Arc 5 at some point.
No. What he does is he knows of somebody who can appraise divine protections,
That's
and
it,
so
yeah.
he gets the ability to appraise the divine protections, and that's how he figures out Liliana has her divine protection.
That's it. Thank you.
Speaking of
The only one that
Liliana-
was forced is
Oh,
the Sword Saint one. I think it's the only one that was just forced on him.
Ah, yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
It does kind of do that.
Yeah.
It do.
That sword just
It
sort
do
of
be like
forces
that.
itself on you.
right before somebody else needs it.
Ayo.
What
Yeah,
is-
I have my suspicions about that.
What the sword saint doing?
What the sword saint doing?
You know-
Will we be...
What am I doing?
We'll be recording the Wolfiana chapters starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
So look
Hey, I
forward.
gotta do my line.
Yeah.
Yay.
Also,
Yeah.
speaking of Wolfiana, Subaru trying to get out of that situation.
Some
did you
strong
guys find out
Natsumi
the voice?
vibes there.
I loved it. That was good. Your girl voice is getting good.
Thank you. I don't know if I.
It's getting good. He's been practicing.
So when are you gonna? So when are you gonna? So when are you record My Fair Bad Lady?
Any day.
Let's go.
I need to practice my that voice anyway. So.
That
You
could
know
be
what?
our
That is true. You
2000
do need
goal.
to practice it eventually.
Probably if you do the 3 idiots go to town side story chapter, or shoot, what is
So
the
that
name?
one's
It's something.
not. It's something statue. That one I don't think is fully translated yet. That is what Arafu's been working on for forever.
You know what I just realized?
Mm.
We could do side stories after we're done with Arc 1 in the middle of, like, doing other arcs.
Oh,
Or I
shit.
know that...
That's really smart to give me and Palazar time to fix up the rest of Arc 2 and 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's so smart.
So
Also,
smart.
speaking of Erifu and his people, they just released a retranslated butterfly or
I
Lustiff.
saw that. The cover is
Ooh.
unreal. So everyone, we're gonna do that in between arc 1 and 2, yeah?
No.
Revisit
Yay.
Let's go!
Oh.
Studio Reverie
Never
does
be able to
Lustiff
escape.
Remember
again.
when I
Lust.
overslept and you guys did all of Lustiff, and I was like, oh.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
You
If
saved
we're doing it, it
yourself,
should be between 3 and
honestly.
4.
It was the most
true.
cursed thing I've ever done.
It was beautiful.
It was not.
It brought tears to my eyes.
It started and ended everything.
It was, you know what, that animation that Willow made was unreal.
Yeah.
It summarized everything.
That is true.
God said, "Let there be disappointment," and there was
There
disappointment.
was! Kyle's is running away to do
that
groceries,
just-
but
We
Wolf
should-
is gonna...
We should probably end it. 'cause I
Okay.
can help.
Oh, that's true, that's true. Alright, sorry friends, I guess we'll have to end the stream for now.
Aw.
Yes.
Oh, bye-bye.
But everybody can hang out in the chat after. I'm so sorry, we have to do groceries. We're starving.
It's
Ah,
understandable.
frig. I gotta do groceries too. Dag nabbit.
Cry.
How dare you remind me of my responsibilities as an adult?
Sorry!
I am offended.
How could this happen to me?
To me.
I made a mistake.
You should.
Thank you, everyone, for
Just let the
watching.
gremlins starve.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
that's
only
true.
minion number 1 is here right now.
Oh,
Hi, minion
The
number
rest of
1.
the rest of them are staying with my parents for the summer. They'll be back next month.
oh, nice.
That's why it's so delightfully quiet here. And when I clean things, they stay clean.
Yay!
Oh.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for
Children
hanging out
are
with us
fun.
for the past
Make
2
are.
hours. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Make sure if you
Thank
think
you,
that anybody
everybody.
would like our streams, you could come and, send them our way and stuff.
Yeah, tell them about
Yeah.
us. Yay!
Drag all your friends here against their will. Don't even tell them what this is about. Just take them. They'll join us. This is a
Drop their
cult.
eyelids
One of
open.
us.
Dip
This is-
the eye
This
drops
is a
into
witch
them.
cult. They're just gonna bring them into our cult, and they'll be fine.
Wow.
And then everyone will be given we'll call them fingers.
Ooh.
And
Oh, that could be the member channel name. Let's go.
Oh, good point.
Our fingers. Well, we'll have to work on that because we got me remonetized. Yes.
Yes, time to be diligent.
Yes.
We'll see you all
Money.
next. This. We'll see you all next Sunday, same time, same place. Cause I am doing a dragon boat race on Saturday. So see you all
Ooh.
on Sunday.
Ooh.
Bye bye, stream.
Bye.